Chapter 1426, 1426 Terrifying insects. Everyone in the great emperor's secret realm started to search for inheritances. The next inheritance will definitely be mine. I must obtain the next inheritance. Many young men had firm gazes and confident expressions. The leaders of the 13 sects were especially excited. These leading figures were only the leaders of this batch of people who had entered the mystic realm. They were not the leaders of the younger generation of their sections. In the younger generation of each sect, many people had already broken through to the martial royal realm. Many geniuses were in the martial royal realm, and some people were even more talented than them. This time, the great emperor's secret realm was their opportunity. If they could obtain an inheritance, they would be able to win the competition among the younger generation. Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao were flying aimlessly. They did not have any clues to find the inheritance, so they could only rely on luck. Buzz! Buzz! In front of him, there were a few beams of light that were heading in one direction. The three of them didn't pay much attention to it. However, after that, they saw rainbow lights flying by from time to time. Moreover, they were all flying in the same direction. The three of them were very curious. At this moment, another figure flew past. Lu Ming stopped the other party. What a coincidence, this person was also a disciple of Dragon God Valley. The land of inheritance might appear ahead. The disciple of the Dragon God Valley only left a few words before he left in a hurry. The land of inheritance? The eyes of the three people lit up. It seemed that someone had found the land of inheritance. Let's go and take a look, Lu Ming said. The three of them flew in that direction at high speed. After flying for more than an hour, the terrain gradually became desolate. Although the terrain was flat, there was no vegetation. The three of them continued flying. There's someone in front. Qiu Yingying pointed to the front. In front of him, there was a person lying there, motionless. The three of them flew over and found that the man was already dead. The air was filled with the faint smell of blood. How did this person die? There's no wound at all, Qiu Hao said after checking. It's in the dantian. Lu Ming found an extremely tiny hole on the person's clothes in his dantian. When he undid the person's clothes, he discovered that there was also an extremely tiny hole in his dantian. It seemed to have been pierced by some sharp weapon. It was a fatal blow, and even the spiritual god could not escape. The three of them looked around and continued to move forward. However, not long after, the three of them stopped. This time, they saw a few corpses. After checking, they found that the cause of death of each corpse was the same. Their dantian had been pierced by a sharp weapon, and they were all killed in one blow. Judging from the auras left behind, these people should all be at the Supreme Being realm. The three of them continued on their way, but not long after, they were shocked. Corpses. The path was covered with corpses. There were thousands of corpses in a certain area. Each of them had died in the same way. Their dantians had been pierced through. Some of them were even emperor-level figures. As they moved forward, they saw more corpses. There were at least 5,000 of them. There were so many people here, and they were all geniuses. Any one of them would be a top existence in the continent of the divine ruins, but now, they had died here without a sound. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. The Yuan continent was indeed many times more dangerous than the continent group of the divine ruins. What is this place? Why is he so evil? Qiu Yingying's little face turned pale, and she was a little frightened. What kind of existence could kill so many people with the same kind of wound? This is unbelievable. Qiu Hao's heart was pounding. Such a scene was too evil, anyone would be scared. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion in front of them. A figure charged into the sky and then dove down. Get lost, get lost! The figure let out an angry roar. The saber in his hand slashed out in all directions with shocking power. So strong! This person is not weaker than Yin Feng. Qiu Yingying exclaimed. Such a powerful figure seemed to be in a fatal crisis at this moment. He was killing and slashing out bright saber light. Ding! 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 His saber light slashed out, and there was actually a ding-ding sound in the air. That is... It's a type of butterfly. Qiu Yingying suddenly pointed to the front and exclaimed. At the same time, Lu Ming and Qiu Hao also saw it. There was a type of butterfly that was almost transparent. It was astonishingly fast as it shuttled through the air. If one didn't look closely, one wouldn't be able to see it. Furthermore, this type of butterfly had 2 spikes on its tail that were like 2 extremely small swords. Sword tail plate. 3 words appeared in Lu Ming's mind. The sword tail plate was an extremely terrifying insect. This kind of vicious insect was almost transparent and its speed was shocking. It moved without a shadow and there were 2 sword-like spikes on its tail. The attack and penetration power of these spikes were terrifying and they were extremely fast. Ordinary people would be pierced by the spikes and die on the spot before they could even notice. That was how the sword tail plate got its name. Lu Ming finally knew how those people had died. They were killed by the sword tail disc. At that moment, the person in front was being attacked by hundreds of sword tail plates. He tried his best to resist. When he saw Lu Ming and the rest, his eyes lit up and he rushed toward them. This guy wants to drag us into this. Qiu Hao said. A golden bell appeared above his head, and a curtain of light enveloped him. On Qiu Yingying's body, a feather robe emitted a light that also covered her. Go back. Lu Ming said coldly and threw a punch at the other party. The terrifying fist force flooded towards the young man. You dare to, the young man shouted angrily. Lu Ming pursed his lips. This person was going to drag them down and Lu Ming did not dare to retaliate. Boom! The young man had no choice but to slash at Lu Ming's fist force. With a loud bang, the young man was sent flying. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, the sharp spikes on the tail of the sword-tail dish stabbed toward the young man, leaving a few small holes in his body. Fortunately, they did not hit any vital parts. The young man rushed into the sky and flew into the distance. His voice came from afar, just you wait. Then, he disappeared into the horizon. A group of sword-tail plates chased after him. However, the young man had indeed successfully dragged Lu Ming and the rest into the water. At least half of the sword-tail disc that was originally attacking the young man was now heading toward Lu Ming and the rest. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sharp air-piercing sounds were heard. Hundreds of sharp spikes were aimed at Lu Ming and the other 2. Buzz! Lu Ming activated his Chaos Realm. The Chaos Realm spread out and enveloped all the sword-tail plates. Then, Lu Ming pressed down with one hand, and the terrifying power of the Chaos Realm crushed toward the sword-tail plates. The primal Chaos domain weighed hundreds of millions of caddies, and the pressure it exerted was astonishing. The spikes exploded in the air, and so did the sword-tail plates, crushed to death by the Chaos domain. Chapter 1427, 1427 The Royal Fruit. It seems like it's not safe up ahead. I'm afraid there will be a large number of sword-tail plates. Yingying, Brother Qiu. Lu Ming looked at Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. What he meant was obvious. It was too dangerous to continue forward. With Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao's strength, they would be in danger if they entered. Lu Ming, big brother, and I will wait for you outside. He said. Qiu Yingying was very smart and quickly opened her mouth. She knew that if she and Qiu Hao followed Lu Ming, they would only be a burden to him. Lu Ming could only move freely when he was alone. All right, then you guys wait for me outside. Lu Ming nodded. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. Qiu Yingying said worriedly. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled and soared into the sky. Qiu Ying and Qiu Hao returned the way they came and left the place. Buzz! Lu Ming was alone. His speed suddenly increased, like a phantom, he flashed past the void. Whoosh! 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 After Lu Ming had flown for a while, hundreds of sword-tail plates launched attacks at him. It was so sudden and so fast that an ordinary martial emperor would not be able to survive such an attack. However, Lu Ming was no ordinary martial emperor. The Chaos Realm covered his entire body. The sharp spikes of the sword-tailed disc could not break through Lu Ming's Chaos Realm at all. The primal Chaos domain trembled, and the spikes were all shattered. Boom! Then, Lu Ming threw a punch and the Chaos domain crushed forward. The sword-tailed discs exploded under the powerful fist force. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to move forward. Along the way, Lu Ming encountered a few waves of attacks, but he simply dashed past them and blasted them into pieces. Soon, a forest appeared in front of them. That's, Lu Ming's gaze looked into the distance. This forest occupied a very large area. In the center of the forest, there was a tall tower in the shape of a sword. It was like a divine sword that pierced through the sky. Even from far away, he could see it. Is that the land of inheritance? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Get lost. Not far away, someone was charging forward. This person was very strong and should be someone with an innate spirit body. However, at this moment, a large group of sword-tail plates flew out from the forest below and attacked this person. This person tried his best to attack, but he couldn't break through the defense of the sword-tail plates. Several big holes were pierced in his body and he almost died here. He could only retreat in a sorry state. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the forest and discovered that there were many corpses. This was because all of them had wanted to charge through the forest and had been killed by the sword-tail disc. Presumably, this forest was the lair of the sword's tail plate, and no one knew how many sword's tail plates were living in it. If they wanted to enter the sword pagoda, they had to pass through this forest. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, another group of sword-tail plates flew out and headed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming pressed forward with one hand and the chaos domain spread out, enveloping the sword-tail plates. Then, with a shake, the sword-tail plates were shaken to death and fell into the forest like raindrops. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He stepped forward and walked toward the sword pagoda. Wait a moment. Suddenly, a cold shout was heard. Then, two beams of light flashed toward Lu Ming. The beams of light converged and two figures appeared. It's you. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. One of them was the young man who had been besieged by the sword's tail plate and then directed it to Lu Ming and Qiu Ying. Lu Ming did not look for him but he appeared on his own. The other person's aura was also extremely strong. It was obvious that he was a heaven's favorite of the same level as this person. Your domain is very mysterious. It can actually restrain the sword-tail disc. No wonder you're not dead. Now, take us there. The young man who had dragged Lu Ming and the rest into the water previously said coldly. Is there something wrong with your brain? Lu Ming sneered. What did you just say? The young man's eyes turned cold. You framed me before and wanted to drag me down to help you escape. Now, you're actually asking me to bring you over. Is there something wrong with your brain? Lu Ming continued. If you don't take me there, you'll die now. The young man said, his body exuding a cold killing intent. Oh, really? Then you. Just go to hell. As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, he threw a punch. Driven by Lu Ming's fist force, the chaos domain crushed toward the young man. You still dare to attack, you're courting death. Ah, that's not right, the young man started to shout but soon, he realized that Lu Ming's fist force was unbelievably powerful. He mustered all his strength and slashed with his saber. However, under Lu Ming's fist force, the saber radiance was shattered and the fist force landed on his body. Bang! Half of his body exploded. Although his combat strength was not weaker than Yin Feng's, Lu Ming did not use his Chaos Realm when he fought with Yin Feng previously. Now that he used his Chaos Realm, he could simply crush Yin Feng. Buzz! Lu Ming reached out and grabbed half of the young man's body. Spare me, the young man was not dead yet, and he was begging for mercy in fear. It's too late to beg for mercy now. Lu Ming swung his arm and threw half of the young man's body into the forest. Instantly, dense sword-tail discs flew out of the forest. No, the young man roared. In the next moment, he was drowned by the sword-tail plate. His whole body was pierced into a hornet's nest, and he died on the spot. Did I let you go? Lu Ming took a step forward, his body like a stream of light. The other young man was almost scared to death when he saw Lu Ming's combat strength. He fled in fear. However, Lu Ming's speed was so fast that he caught up to him in a few breaths. The result was already decided. With one move, the young man was half dead. Lu Ming followed the same pattern and threw the heavily injured young man into the forest, where he was pierced by 10,000 arrows. Then, Lu Ming continued to walk forward. The dense sword-tail disc rushed out of the forest and pounced at Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming covered his entire body with the Chaos Domain and cast the Wind Element technique. His entire person seemed to have transformed into a long spear and he charged forward. The sword-tail disc exploded wherever Lu Ming passed by, opening a path in the dense cluster of sword-tail discs. The sword-tail disc could not stop Lu Ming at all. Not long after, Lu Ming successfully rushed through the forest and approached the sword pagoda. The strange thing was that as soon as they rushed through the forest, the sword-tail plates stopped chasing and all retreated. Boom! Buzz! Not far from the sword pagoda, a terrifying rumble was heard. Someone was fighting. Get lost. The royal fruit is mine. You think you can get the royal fruit? In your dreams. Die. Swordlight, Saberlight, and Palm Print surged. 4 figures were in a chaotic battle in that area. These 4 people's combat strength was shocking. They were even stronger than Yin Feng. No wonder he could break through the encirclement of the sword's tail plate and rush here. The royal fruit. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He swept his gaze across the surroundings and discovered 3 fruit trees. Each fruit tree had a fruit growing on it. Each fruit was crystal clear and resplendent. The aura of the great Tao lingered around them. It really is the royal fruit. Lu Ming's eyes brightened instantly. There was a fiery glow that flashed past. Chapter 1428, 1428 Chapter 1428 Sword Pagoda Confrontation. The royal fruit was a rare treasure. It was said that a low-level martial emperor's cultivation would rise by 1 level after eating a royal fruit. Even a high-level martial emperor would be of great help after taking it. It could help one break through a bottleneck. In the martial emperor realm, if one wanted to improve their cultivation, they first needed to improve their territory, then cultivate their vital essence, and form a spirit body. However, the royal fruit could directly raise one's cultivation by 1 level. The most amazing thing was that no matter what field a warrior cultivated in, it would be useful when consumed. Such a treasure was simply heaven-defying. It was no wonder that these people were so busy fighting over it. The 3 royal fruits are mine. Lu Ming moved and pounced toward the royal fruit. The primal chaos domain he cultivated was dozens or even hundreds of times more difficult to level up than ordinary domains. However, if he had the royal domain fruit, how much time and energy could he save? Such a rare treasure was hard to come by. Since he had encountered it, how could Lu Ming give it up? You're looking for death. You want to take the royal fruit? Die. The 4 people who were in the midst of a chaotic battle had also discovered Lu Ming. They roared angrily and attacked Lu Ming at the same time. The combat strength of these 4 people was very shocking and had surpassed people like Yin Feng. Even Lu Ming could not ignore the four of them when they attacked in anger. Boom! 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 Lu Ming threw 4 consecutive punches, crushing the attacks of the 4 people. What powerful strength! The 4 of them were shocked and they saw that Lu Ming had destroyed their attack with just a wave of his fist. We're no match for this man's combat strength alone. If he gets the royal fruit, we'll have no hope at all. A young man said. That's right. Why don't we join forces and kill this man first before we fight for the royal fruit? All right. I was thinking the same thing. The 4 young men moved in a flash and surrounded Lu Ming in the middle. Powerful steam engines were released and locked onto Lu Ming. Get lost! Lu Ming bellowed, forming a terrifying sound wave that attacked a young man in front of him. At the same time, he threw a punch at the young man in front of him. If he wanted to fight, he had to focus on one person. The young man's expression changed. He did not expect that Lu Ming would dare to make the first move against the 4 of them. Sword chi bloomed in his hand. A sharp sword chi burst out and broke the air wave that Lu Ming spat out. However, when his sword gleam slashed at Lu Ming's fist, his expression changed drastically. As the primal chaos domain crushed down, his sword light was like a willow leaf in the wind, rapidly swaying as if it would collapse at any moment. At this moment, the other 3 people also made their moves. The saber beam, the palm print, and the spear's gleam were all aimed at Lu Ming at the same time. However, Lu Ming pretended not to see it. The chaos realm covered his entire body, shrouding Lu Ming. Boom! 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 The 3 attacks landed on the chaos domain. The chaos domain shook violently but did not break. The expressions of the 3 people changed drastically. What kind of domain is this? How can it be so terrifying? The same thought flashed through the minds of the 3. The primal chaos domain was a legendary domain. Not many people could recognize it. Furthermore, they had never imagined that someone in the world could cultivate the primal chaos domain. The trio's attacks did not break the chaos domain, but Lu Ming's attack continued to crush it. Bang! The sword light of the youth in front of him finally couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed. And NBSP, the primal chaos domain, exploded with terrifying fist energy. The young man's body shook violently and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His body was sent flying like a cannonball. Buzz! Then, Lu Ming dodged the other 3's attacks in a flash. His cold killing intent enveloped the other 3. At this moment, the sword pagoda not far away let out a buzzing sound. The door at the bottom level of the pagoda opened with a loud bang. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, 2 sword lights flew toward the sword pagoda from another direction at an extreme speed and rushed into the gate. The sword pagoda opened and 2 experts rushed in. Buzz! At this moment, Lu Ming's 3rd blood meridian emerged and turned into a blood-red spear. Lu Ming grabbed it. Army obliteration. The blood-red spear swept out, containing the terrifying power of the prison-suppressing heavenly art and the primal chaos domain. Bang! 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 The 3 young men were sent flying like sandbags. They flew thousands of meters away and spat out blood as they looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. He was almost invincible among those of the same level. After sending the 3 young men flying, Lu Ming dashed toward the royal fruit. This time, the young men did not dare to stop him. They watched as Lu Ming picked the royal fruit and put it away. After picking the royal fruit, Lu Ming did not stop. He rushed to the sword pagoda and entered through the door on the ground floor. Who is this person? What a terrifying combat strength. I'm afraid it's comparable to the leaders of the 13 factions, it's indeed shocking. However, those 2 sword lights were the 2 leaders of the sect, Luo Xiang from the Life and Death Sword sect and Wang Xiao from the Jiuxiao Sword sect. This is going to be interesting. Three leaders are fighting for an inheritance. This is going to be interesting. Let's go and watch. Following that, the young men also flew toward the sword pagoda. As soon as Lu Ming flew into the sword pagoda, he realized that the sword pagoda was filled with sharp sword qi. There were beams of sword qi that were slashing at him. It was the aftermath of the sword qi. In the sword pagoda, two people were fighting fiercely. Sword qi filled the sword pagoda. What powerful battle strength! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. One of the two young men was wearing an ordinary black robe and had a handsome face. There was a sword mark between his eyebrows, as if a divine sword would fly out at any time. The other person was wearing a cloud robe. He was tall and had a wild aura. The two of them were both swordsmen and they both used long swords. Buzz! 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 In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. Their long swords collided, and sword qi raged. The cultivation of these two people was actually at the LV2 martial royal realm. They were not weaker than He Yu, the leader of Dragon God Valley. Luo Xiang, this inheritance is mine. The young man in the cloud robe shouted coldly. Wang Xiao, inheritances can't be obtained with words. Luo Xiang coldly replied. At this moment, the two of them saw Lu Ming but their eyes were cold and indifferent. They did not take Lu Ming seriously at all. You guys continue. Lu Ming smiled faintly. His figure soared into the sky and he rushed to the top of the sword pagoda. There were no staircases in this sword pagoda. The center of the pagoda was empty, and it led all the way to the top. If one wanted to go up, they would have to rush up from the middle. Get lost. As Lu Ming charged forward, Wang Xiao's eyes turned cold and a sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming struck out with his palm and dispersed the sword gleam. He did not stop and continued to move upward. You have some ability. Wang Xiao's eyes turned cold. He gave up on Luo Xiang and became one with his sword. He turned into a beam of sword light and shot up into the sky, stabbing towards Lu Ming. Get down. Lu Ming shouted coldly and took 9 consecutive steps with the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. The 9 steps merged into one, and the sound of a dragon's roar could be heard. It was as if there were 9 dragons flying out from Lu Ming's feet, pouncing towards Wang Xiao's sword light. Chapter 1429, 1429. Snatching Wang Xiao's face fell, and his body fell to the ground. Whoosh! At this moment, Luo Xiang shot up into the sky and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming borrowed Wang Xiao's power to rise to the top. He twisted his body and stepped forward, moving tens of meters to the top of the landing zone. Immediately after, Luo Xiang also flew over. Buzz! After Luo Xiang, it was Wang Xiao's turn. He landed on the ground and looked at Lu Ming with a dark expression. As the leader of Zhou Sword Sex expedition into the secret realm, he had just been kicked down by Lu Ming, an unknown person. This made his expression turn ugly. At this moment, Lu Ming's gaze was attracted to the front. In front of him, there were 3 balls of light floating in the air. A book was floating in one of the balls of light. It seemed to be made of gold, but it wasn't. What was strange was that on the surface of the book, there was a figure dancing with a sword. It was a very mysterious sight. It was a martial technique, a sword technique. The second ball of light only had a sword. The sword was snow white, and with just a glance, one could feel a terrifying sword light slashing out. A holy weapon. This sword was definitely a powerful holy weapon. The third ball of light was much simpler. There were only 100 fist-sized stones. The heavenly Tao stone. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The 3 of them moved almost at the same time. Lu Ming pounced toward the heavenly Tao stone. To Lu Ming, the swordsmanship secret manual was not of much use to him. He was not a swordsman and did not cultivate the sword. As for the saint weapon longsword, although it was precious, it wasn't of much use to him. If he were to take it out, he would only be selling it. These were not as attractive as the heavenly Tao stone. The heavenly Tao stone was the root of improving one's strength. As long as one had strength, would one need to worry about not having treasures? Lu Ming pounced toward the heavenly stone's light sphere, Luo Xiang pounced toward the art of swordplay, and Wang Xiao pounced toward his holy weapon sword. Bang! Lu Ming grabbed the ball of light. The ball of light shook but did not break. It really has a protective function. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Following that, the chaos realm covered Lu Ming's palm. He activated the prison-suppressing heaven technique and struck the ball of light with his palm. Buzz! The ball of light shook violently. Although it didn't break, the light from the ball of light dimmed. Continue. Lu Ming launched a series of attacks. The chaos realm combined with the prison-suppressing heavenly technique was extremely powerful. The ball of light shook continuously and flickered. In less than 10 breaths, Lu Ming had struck more than 100 times. Finally, the ball of light collapsed with a poof, turning into light spots and disappearing. Lu Ming grabbed down and put more than 100 heavenly Tao stones into his storage ring. Lu Ming had a smile on his face. In total, he had obtained more than 200 heavenly Tao stones. The heavenly Tao stones were so precious that even Sage Realm experts would want to look for them. They would be envious if they saw them. Lu Ming's trip to the Great Emperor's secret realm this time was not in vain. After putting away the heavenly Tao stone, he looked around and found that Luo Xiang and Wang Xiao still hadn't broken through the light. Sword light burst out from their hands and continuously slashed at the ball of light. The ball of light trembled and its light dimmed. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he pounced towards the ball of light Wang Xiao was in. He struck out with his palm, causing the ball of light to tremble violently. "What are you doing?" Wang Xiao roared in anger. Lu Ming sneered. He could not be bothered with him and struck out with his palm. "Brat, you dare to fight me for my saint weapon? You're looking for death." Wang Xiao hollered in rage, and the sword in his hand flashed as he slashed towards Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming kicked out. This kick was also a combination of the prison-suppressing heaven technique and the chaos domain. Wang Xiao's sword light was shattered, and his body was forced back 2 steps. Bang! Lu Ming struck the ball of light with his palm again. With a poof, the ball of light was destroyed. Lu Ming grabbed the holy weapon longsword and kept it in his storage ring. "Brat, hand over your saint weapon." Wang Xiao let out a furious roar as he pounced towards Lu Ming, his sword qi shooting towards Lu Ming like a rainbow. "You want a saint weapon? Let's see if you have the ability." Lu Ming sneered. Wang Xiao had attacked Lu Ming the moment he entered the room. Now that he had the chance to snatch his saint weapon, how could Lu Ming be polite? Lu Ming's palm was like a blade, slashing down continuously. Under Lu Ming's palm, Wang Xiao's sword radiance was destroyed one after another. Damn it! Wang Xiao was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. However, he was shocked to find that he could not do anything to Lu Ming at all. In fact, Lu Ming's attacks were stronger than his, but he was actually being suppressed by Lu Ming. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hands, bringing with it his chaos domain. In an instant, he sent out a dozen palm strikes, which were like a dozen mountains, pressing down on Wang Xiao. Wang Xiao raised his cultivation to the peak of the 2nd level of the martial emperor realm, and a sword light burst forth as he tried to break out of the mountain. Buzz! Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Sparks flew in all directions, and the sword qi was extinguished. Wang Xiao used all his strength and finally managed to break through the gap, rushing out of Lu Ming's attack range. He retreated far away, feeling the qi and blood in his body churning. He looked at Lu Ming with a serious expression. At this time, Luo Xiang also broke through the light ball and put away the kendo manual. Detestable! Wang Xiao was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Originally, there were 3 of them, so there were exactly 3 treasures. But in the end, Lu Ming got 2, and he did not get a share. That was a holy weapon. If he could refine 1 or 2 of them, his combat power would definitely increase greatly. Unfortunately, it was in Lu Ming's hands now. He glared at Lu Ming viciously. What, you want to die? Lu Ming glanced at Wang Xiao with a murderous look in his eyes. Buzz! At this moment, not far in front of the 3 of them, a spot of light suddenly lit up in the space. The spot of light was resplendent, and slowly, a small sword appeared there. The small sword was only the size of a palm, but it was bright and resplendent. The light was like tiny little swords, spreading in all directions. Legacy. The 3 men's hearts moved, and their eyes bloomed with a fiery light. Almost at the same time, the 3 of them moved and pounced toward the light sword. However, the next moment, the 3 of them changed their expressions and pushed forward with their palms. Then, the 3 of them retreated in unison. What a strong pressure! What a strong sword chi! Lu Ming's eyes were a little solemn. The moment he charged out, he felt a powerful sword chi emanating from the sword of light, as if it was going to tear him apart. If he had not blocked it in time, he would have been injured. Luo Xiang and Wang Xiao were probably the same. It seemed that it would not be easy to get this light sword. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming covered his entire body with the chaos domain and walked forward step by step. The chaotic realm rippled as it was attacked. Tiny sword chi, dense and endless, stabbed the chaotic realm. As for Luo Xiang and Wang Xiao, they also stepped forward. Of course, they were also attacked, and were doing their best to resist. The speed of the 3 of them became extremely slow. However, Lu Ming's chaos domain covered his entire body. Step by step, he walked forward determinedly. His speed was still faster than Luo Xiang and Wang Xiao. Very soon, Lu Ming was several meters ahead of Luo Xiang and Wang Xiao. Chapter 1430, 1430. The Sword Dao Inheritance. Lu Ming was leading by a few meters, causing Luo Xiang's eyes to light up. Wang Xiao, on the other hand, was furious. He gritted his teeth and charged forward. Buzz! 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 There was a whooshing sound and 4 figures rushed up from the bottom of the sword pagoda. They were the 4 young men who had competed with Lu Ming for the royal fruit. It's an inheritance. The legacy of the sword pagodas. When they saw the light swords, their eyes flashed with greed and they also stepped forward. But at the same time, they were also attacked by the sword chi, and their speed was slower than a snail. The power of the sword chi is getting stronger and stronger. Lu Ming's expression slowly turned serious. The further he went, the closer he was to the light sword. The pressure and the power of the sword chi became stronger and stronger. The ripples on the chaos domain also became more and more intense. Boom! Lu Ming used offense as a form of defense and began to use the prison-suppressing heaven technique to break the sword chi. In this case, it was indeed better. Lu Ming's speed suddenly increased. Seeing this, Luo Xiang and Wang Xiao also started to attack. Sword chi burst out from their hands, clashing with the sword chi that was flying towards them, causing a dense clashing sound to ring out. However, their speed was still not as fast as Lu Ming's. The lightsaber was not far away from them to begin with. In a short while, Lu Ming was already close to the lightsaber. He was less than a meter away from it. He could reach it with his hand. At this point, the power of the sword chi light had reached a shocking level. Detestable, no. Wang Xiao roared in his heart. Seeing that the legacy was about to be taken by Lu Ming, he was extremely unwilling. He tried his best to move forward, but it was impossible for him to get close to the light sword. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He covered his palm with the chaos domain and grabbed the light sword, successfully grabbing it. Buzz! Right at this moment, the light sword trembled slightly, and the light grew brighter. A terrifying sword chi burst out. Lu Ming's expression changed. He felt that the chaos domain on his palm could not withstand the pressure and was about to break. A terrifying sword chi burst out of Lu Ming's palm and headed straight for him. Bang! Lu Ming's body could not help but retreat after being hit by the sword chi. He slid along the ground for dozens of meters. He had failed. The lightsaber did not acknowledge him. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. He was not too surprised. The inheritance here was obviously a sword technique inheritance. He did not cultivate the sword, so it was normal for him to be rejected by the light sword. Previously, he had only wanted to give it a try. Even if he could not get the legacy, Lu Ming had a fruitful trip. The 3 royal fruits and more than 100 heavenly Dao stones were extremely useful to Lu Ming. Of course, there was also a holy battle sword, which was also very valuable. Ha ha ha. Seeing Lu Ming being pushed back by the lightsaber, Wang Shao laughed in his heart and pushed forward with all his might. He and Luo Xiang approached the light sword almost at the same time. Luo Xiang, you want to compete with me? Dream on. A small squirrel appeared in Wang Shao's hands. Sword rats. Luo Xiang's expression changed. Go, attack him. Wang Shao spoke, staring at Luo Xiang. Squeak. The squirrel cried out in fear. Wang Shao, this place is filled with powerful sword chi. If you ask the sword mouse to attack me, you'll be killing it. Luo Xiang said. Hurry up and attack, or it'll kill you right now. Wang Shao couldn't be bothered with Luo Xiang's words, and stared at the sword rat with killing intent. Squeak. The sword rat was so scared that its body trembled. It then nodded, and a look of sorrow flashed through its eyes. With a swish, it rushed towards Luo Xiang. At this moment, Luo Xiang was the same as Wang Shao. He had to use all of his strength to block the sword chi, and couldn't even spare a hand to attack. Bang! The sword rat struck Luo Xiang's protective Zhen Yuan and domain, causing his body to shake and retreat. But the sword rat was also exposed to the endless sword chi. The sword rat wailed and turned into ashes under the sword chi. Ha! I've finally seized the initiative. Wang Shao laughed as he reached out to grab the sword of light. The inheritance is mine. Wang Shao grabbed the sword of light, his eyes shining with excitement. Of course, he could tell that Lu Ming was repelled by the lightsaber because he was not a swordsman. Naturally, he could not be recognized by the lightsaber. However, he was a pure swordsman. He had been practicing swordsmanship since young and was a famous genius in the Zhouxiao sword sect. How could he not be recognized by the light sword? However, the next moment, his eyes suddenly widened. The lightsaber burst forth with a violent force, and just like Lu Ming, Wang Shao was sent flying. No, how could this be? Wang Shao couldn't believe it, and he howled in rage. He had also been rejected by the lightsaber. How could this be? Sword cultivators are supposed to be brave, determined, decisive, persistent, sharp, and daring. But you're despicable and shameless. Wang Shao, you're not worthy of a sword. Luo Xiang's indifferent voice sounded. Bang! Bang! Then, Luo Xiang took a few steps forward and arrived in front of the light sword. Without any hesitation, he grabbed the light sword. When Luo Xiang grabbed the lightsaber, it was surprisingly quiet. The powerful sword chi disappeared without a trace, just like a docile pet. Luo Xiang has obtained the recognition of the lightsaber. A young man said. Impossible. The inheritance is mine. Wang Shao couldn't accept this fact, and with a roar of anger, he pounced towards Luo Xiang. Buzz! The sword of light trembled, and a powerful sword chi burst forth, sending Wang Shao flying. Then, with a flash, the light sword entered the space between Luo Xiang's eyebrows and disappeared. Buzz! Luo Xiang directly jumped down from the sword pagoda and rushed out. At this moment, the sword pagoda began to shake. Let's go. Lu Ming jumped down from the sword pagoda and rushed out of the pagoda. The others followed suit, one by one, including Wang Xiao. However, his face was extremely gloomy. Buzz! The sword pagoda trembled. Then, a rainbow bridge broke through the sky and rushed into the boundless void, merging with the other two rainbow bridges. In the distance, a sword light flashed and flew into the distance. It was Luo Xiang. He had just received the inheritance and needed time to digest it. Luo Xiang, don't even think about occupying the sword doctrine inheritance. Wang Xiao's eyes flashed with a cold light, as he turned into a beam of sword light, chasing after Luo Xiang. Lu Ming shook his head. Wang Xiao was a narrow-minded person. No wonder he couldn't get the sword Dao inheritance. Compared to Luo Xiang, he was far worse. Lu Ming could not be bothered with this matter and stepped out. Very soon, Lu Ming rushed past the area of the sword's tail plate and went back the way he came. Lu Ming was not very concerned about the legacy here. He had the inheritances of the 9 dragons and the Chaos Arch. The 9 dragons and the Chaos Arch were peak experts in the world. They were peak existences even among the great emperors. Lu Ming did not care about these small inheritances at all. Even if he obtained it, it would not be of much use to Lu Ming. Lu Ming wanted more treasures, such as the heavenly Dao stone, which was of great use to him. Not long after, Lu Ming found Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao. Lu Ming, how's the legacy? Qiu Yingying asked curiously. They had just seen the Rainbow Bridge and knew that the inheritance had already appeared. They were just curious about who had taken it. Chapter 1431 Emperor Tsang's bedroom. Luo Xiang got it. Lu Ming said with a smile. Luo Xiang, that peerless genius from the life and death sword sect. Qiu Yingying's eyes moved. You know this person? Lu Ming said. Qiu Yingying nodded. My brother and I have been in the Yuan continent for 2 years. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. In these 2 years, besides cultivating, we have not been idle. We have investigated some of the major forces in the Tsang region and some outstanding geniuses. The Life and Death Sword sect is a very special existence among the 13 top sections. The other sects have many disciples, but the Life and Death Sword sect has very few. They are extremely strict when it comes to accepting disciples. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, the number of people from the Life and Death Sword sect who entered the Great Emperor's secret realm this time was the least. And this Luo Xiang is the most terrifying heaven's favorite in the Life and Death Sword sect. It's said that he started training with the sword at 6, reached the spiritual ocean tier at 7, and reached the limit of the Supreme Being at 9. Qiu Yingying said. He trained in the sword at the age of 6, and reached the limits of the autarch level at the age of 9? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This kind of cultivation speed was simply too fast. It was simply unimaginable. Although this was the Yuan continent, it was still too terrifying. Lu Ming's cultivation speed was already very shocking after he obtained the 9 dragons bloodline. However, he had spent more than 10 years cultivating until now. Although Luo Xiang's talent isn't bad, he looks like he's already in his 20s. It's not that exaggerated. Lu Ming was puzzled. That's the scariest thing about Luo Xiang. It's said that he could have broken through to the Emperor realm long ago, but he's been suppressing it at the limit of the Supreme Realm. His purpose is to nurture his sword soul and temper his sword heart. He's been suppressing it for 15 years. Qiu Yingying said. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a hint of shock. In order to nurture his sword soul and temper his sword heart, he was actually willing to suppress himself to the same realm for 15 years. This kind of person was too terrifying. Now that Luo Xiang had made a breakthrough and obtained the inheritance of the sword doctrine, he would definitely rise up in the future and become an absolutely terrifying figure. Lu Ming secretly remembered Luo Xiang's name in his heart. Not to mention other things, just that kind of heart was worthy of respect. Lu Ming asked himself. He could not suppress himself for 15 years in one realm. However, everyone's path was different. Lu Ming had his own path. Other people's paths might not be suitable for him. The few of them chatted for a while before leaving. Following that, the entire mystic realm became even more lively. Everyone was searching for the remaining inheritance. Time passed day by day. In the secret realm, there was a sea of blood. A dragon's roar could be heard from within. Suddenly, a figure shot up into the sky and stood above the sea of blood with a shocking aura. He was the leader of the Dragon God Valley, Hiyu. Buzz! A rainbow bridge rose from the blood sea and disappeared into the void. The fourth inheritance appeared. In a sea of flowers, an extremely beautiful woman stood in the middle. Her entire body was shining with resplendent light, and the light from the sea of flowers converged to form a rainbow bridge that shot into the void. The fifth legacy had appeared. There was also a rainbow bridge that rushed out from the desert. The sixth legacy. In an ancient temple, a young man was bathed in holy light. He only disappeared after a long time. After this person rushed out of the divine hall, there was also a rainbow bridge that broke into the sky. The seventh inheritance had appeared. Buzz! 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 One figure after another appeared beside the young man and bowed respectfully. Congratulations, Brother Sure. You've obtained the inheritance. All 7 inheritances have appeared. Emperor Tsang's chamber will soon appear. This time, Emperor Tsang's treasures will belong to my Tianxin sect. The young man spoke with a supreme might, like a divine spirit speaking. Emperor Tsang's treasure will definitely belong to my Tianxin sect. The other young men chimed in. At this moment, everyone in the secret realm was looking at the void. The 7 inheritances have all appeared. Emperor Tsang's bedroom is about to appear. On a mountain peak, Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying, and Qiu Hao stood facing the wind, looking at the sky. During this period of time, they had been searching for inheritances, but unfortunately, their luck seemed to have run out. They had not found any inheritances. In the depths of the sky, 7 rainbow bridges rushed into the void from all directions and gathered together. The entire secret realm of the great emperor could see it. Boom! Suddenly, an earth-shaking roar came from the place where the rainbow bridges converged. Then, the cry of an eagle resounded through the world. In the depths of the void, there seemed to be a behemoth that was about to break out of the void. Emperor Tsang's chamber is about to appear. Charge! I want to seize the initiative. I didn't get the 7 inheritances. The inheritance of Emperor Tsang is mine. One figure after another flew into the sky from all directions, rushing toward the place where the rainbow bridges converged. From below, the scene was extremely magnificent. Countless silhouettes were densely packed as they gathered in one place. It was a spectacular sight. Let's go up too, Lu Ming said. Then, they rose into the air and flew to the sky. At this moment, another eagle's cry resounded through the sky. Boom! 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 The void shattered, and a giant creature slowly appeared in front of everyone. It was a goshawk, a huge goshawk. To be more precise, it was a building in the shape of an eagle. From a distance, it looked lifelike, and a vast aura pressed down on everyone's hearts. Was this Emperor Tsang's bedroom? Everyone's eyes lit up. Legend had it that Emperor Tsang was a goshawk that became the emperor. He was the supreme demon emperor of his generation. There's a lot fewer people, Qiu Yingying said softly. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, when they entered the great emperor's secret realm, there were more than 300,000 people. But now, there were less than 200,000 people here. The others had almost all fallen. More than 100,000 of them had died. What a shocking number. The great emperor's secret realm had great opportunities, but it also came with great dangers. For example, at least 10,000 people had died to the sword-tail disc in the land of sword principal inheritance. Boom. 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 A moment later, the entire goshawk appeared in everyone's sight. It was huge, too huge. A goshawk covered the sky and the sun. The entire goshawk was black and shiny. He didn't know what material it was made of. Where's the entrance? Everyone was watching, but they couldn't see an entrance. The outside of the goshawk's body was smooth, so it was impossible for it to be the real bedroom. The real bedroom must be inside the goshawk. Gah! At this moment, the cry of a goshawk resounded through the world. Everyone saw that the goshawk's mouth had opened, revealing a pitch-black passage. Could this be the passageway to Emperor Tsang's bedroom? Everyone looked at each other. In the end, some of them gritted their teeth and rushed toward the goshawk's mouth. If this was really a passageway, then entering first would allow them to gain the upper hand. Chapter 1432, 1432 Chapter 1432 Killing Intent Charge. Charge. As soon as someone moved, the others could no longer hold back and rushed toward the goshawk's mouth. Buzz. 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 The crowd swarmed towards the goshawk's mouth. Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying, and Qiu Hao followed the crowd. The person at the front had already rushed into the fly's mouth, and there was no danger. The moment they saw that everything was fine, the people behind them charged forward even more frantically. Who knew if they would obtain some supreme treasure if they entered earlier? Everyone naturally went crazy. Who? As Lu Ming was flying, a terrifying palm print shot out from behind him. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. He did not even look at it. He turned his hand and struck out with his palm, clashing with the palm print behind him. Boom! The force was unrestrained. Lu Ming twisted his body and looked behind him. A young man in a white robe glanced at Lu Ming with a cold gaze, then sped forward. The people of the Heavenly Gods sect. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Obviously, this white-robed young man from the Heavenly Gods sect wanted to kill him. He had sneaked an attack on him from behind when he was not paying attention. Tianxin sect, thank you Ninjuan. Lu Ming said in a low voice, his voice cold. They continued to fly and soon, Lu Ming and the rest flew into the passage. The goshawk was huge, so the passage was also huge. It did not seem crowded at all when a large group of people flew in. Ah! Ah! At this moment, a shrill scream came from the front. What's going on? There's danger ahead. Someone exclaimed. And NBSP whoosh. At this moment, an ear-piercing sound came from the front, and it was getting closer. Whoosh. Whoosh. Suddenly, beams of black light shot out from the walls on both sides of the passage. Immediately, someone screamed as the black light pierced through his body and he died. Defend. Lu Ming threw a few consecutive punches and destroyed dozens of black rays of light. Lu Ming saw it clearly. This black light was not a physical entity, but it was very powerful and had a terrifying penetrative power. Many people circulated their vital essence to defend, but it was useless. They were penetrated by the black light. Those below the Emperor realm withdraw. Those below the Emperor realm withdraw. Someone shouted. Those below the Emperor level couldn't block the light at all and would be shot to death. Screams rang out continuously as people were shot to death. In the passage, domains spread out. Those who had broken through to the Emperor realm had to use their domain and true essence to protect themselves. They could barely block the attack of the black light. On Qiu Yingying's body, the feather clothing emitted a light that covered her entire body, blocking the surrounding light. Qiu Hao, on the other hand, had a golden bell floating above his head, casting down a light screen that easily blocked the light. As for Lu Ming, he was enveloped by the chaos domain and the light could not touch him at all. The group didn't retreat and continued to fly forward. Along the way, they saw many corpses. However, most of them were supremes, and only a few emperors were killed by them if they were not careful. However, as he continued to advance, the power of the black light also slowly became stronger. In the beginning, it shot out from the left and right sides, but behind it, left, right, up, down, there was endless black light shooting out with astonishing power. Slowly, some of the sovereigns were unable to resist. This passage was extremely long. Everyone flew for 1,000 miles and still had not reached the end. Damn it, I'm not willing to accept this. Someone roared because they couldn't hold on much longer. If they went any further, they would die. He could only leave unwillingly. As he continued forward, it became more and more difficult to walk. On the other hand, Lu Ming, Qiu Ying, and Qiu Hao had it easy. Qiu Ying and Qiu Hao's treasures were saint weapons with amazing defensive power. Naturally, this attracted the attention of others. What a profound treasure! If I can obtain it, I will be able to enter Emperor Tsang's bedroom. Some people's eyes flashed with greed. Many people surrounded the three of them. How can you enjoy such a treasure? Give it to me. A young man with a cold look in his eyes threw a palm toward Qiu Hao. Buzz! The golden bell above Qiu Hao's head trembled, and an invisible ripple spread out, rushing towards the young man. The young man's face changed, and he retreated. What a wondrous treasure! It must be a saint weapon. Hand it over. Kill. The other young man also stepped out and charged at Qiu Hao. There were also a few people who charged towards Qiu Ying. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted coldly. He strode forward and extended his hand to attack the few young men. Brat, it's good that I didn't come looking for you. You're such a busybody, go to hell. One of the young men snorted coldly and struck Lu Ming with his palm. However, Lu Ming threw a punch and the violent fist force crushed over. The young man screamed and flew backward. His protective true energy and territory were shattered by Lu Ming's punch. His body was instantly pierced by the dense black light and he died on the spot. Following that, Lu Ming threw a few consecutive punches, sending a few more young men flying. His vital essence and territory were penetrated by Lu Ming, and they all died under the black light. The remaining young men's expressions changed drastically. Lu Ming's combat strength was too strong. He completely crushed them. At that moment, an extremely sharp force attacked Lu Ming from behind. Lu Ming knew that it was sword chi the moment he heard it. It was extremely sharp and the person who attacked must be shockingly powerful. Buzz! He activated the wind elemental technique. At the critical moment, Lu Ming's figure shifted 1 meter to the side and avoided the sword. You again! Lu Ming's killing intent burst forth when he saw the person who had launched the sneak attack. This person was the white-robed young man from the Heavenly Gods sect who had sneaked an attack on Lu Ming outside the passage. You're lucky. The white-robed young man's attack had failed, so he retreated and wanted to retreat. You've attacked me time and time again, and now you want to leave. Have you asked for my permission? Lu Ming said coldly. The aura on his body surged. He took a step forward and rushed toward the white-robed young man at top speed. The black light did not pose much of a threat to Lu Ming. The young man in white's expression changed when he saw Lu Ming charging at him. He dashed forward at top speed, but his speed was no match for Lu Ming's. In just a few breaths, Lu Ming was already close to him. Brat, you dare to attack me? An elder of the Heavenly Gods sects, seeing that he could not escape, the white-robed young man turned around and shouted at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming charged at the other party. This person was really naive. He had tried to ambush Lu Ming time and time again, trying to kill Lu Ming. Now, he actually brought up his backer to threaten Lu Ming. Wasn't he stupid? The white-robed young man's words were swallowed back by Lu Ming's punch. He could only try his best to resist. Sword lights bloomed from his hands with astonishing power. This person should have an innate spirit body, and his cultivation had reached the peak of the LV-1 martial royal realm. His combat strength was not bad, but he was no match for Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming's punch shattered all the sword gleams. The remaining force of the punch landed on the white-robed young man's protective true energy and territory. The white-robed young man was sent flying and crashed into the wall. He was almost killed by the black light. Chapter 1433 Chapter 1433 Spear of God's Punishment Buzz. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of the white-robed young man, kicking him. With a bang, the young man in white's protective quintessential essence and territory were shattered by Lu Ming's kick. Instantly, an endless amount of light shot towards the white-robed youth. The white-robed young man tried his best to resist. Fortunately, he had an innate spiritual body and had now transformed into a low-grade earth spiritual body. He was very powerful and managed to save his life after a hole was pierced through his body. However, Lu Ming charged at him again. Bang! Lu Ming's claw pierced through the white-robed young man's territory and grabbed his neck. His essential core shook and almost scattered the young man's essential core. His true essence and domain naturally disappeared without a trace. "Help me," the white-robed youth screamed in fear as a dense black light shot towards him. Lu Ming activated his chaos domain and enveloped the white-robed young man, blocking the black light. The white-robed young man let out a long breath and shouted, "Lu Ming, let me go. My uncle is an elder of the Tianqian sect. If you kill me, nonsense, shut up." Lu Ming shouted coldly. His cold killing intent burst out, causing the white-robed young man to swallow his words. "Speak, who asked you to come and kill me?" Lu Ming said coldly. Yes, just as the white-robed young man was about to reply, a voice sounded from the other side. "You'd better let him go." A voice sounded, and a few young men walked out from the passage. The young man in the lead had a slender figure and bright eyes. He was like a god with a very oppressive aura. The aura of the second level of the martial royal realm emanated from his body. There were two other young men behind the young man. They were both at the peak LV-1 martial royal realm. The black light could not do anything to them as they covered the area with their territory. "That's the leader of the heavenly god sect, Shi Tian." On the side, other people passed by and whispered. Then, they rushed forward and left this place. "Senior Shi Tian, save me." The white-robed young man shouted in surprise when he saw Shi Tian. "Kid, let me go, or Brother Shi Tian will make you face a life-and-death situation." Following that, the white-robed young man berated Lu Ming and became arrogant again. "Is that so?" Lu Ming sneered. He carried the young man in the white coat and sent him out of the area covered by the territory. Immediately, his body was pierced by 7 or 8 rays of black light. Blood flowed out and he let out a shrill scream. "Brat, you're looking for death." Such great courage. Behind Shi Tian, 2 young men shouted. Boom! Shi Tian stepped forward, his powerful aura pressing down on Lu Ming. He said coldly, "I said, let him go." His tone carried a sense of superiority as he ordered Lu Ming. "Who do you think you are? Furthermore, this person has tried to sneak attack me time and time again. He's already dead." Lu Ming said coldly. "If you kill him, I'll kill you." Shi Tian's eyes were gloomy. "Is that so?" Lu Ming's face turned ferocious, and the killing intent on his body became even colder. "No," the white-robed young man stood up in fear. Boom! The power in Lu Ming's hand suddenly exploded and drowned the white-robed young man. The young man was crushed into pieces by Lu Ming's terrifying power. Die! At this moment, Shi Tian's killing intent burst out. His body was bathed in the holy light. He took a step forward, and the void rumbled. Shi Tian raised his hand and pressed down. A huge holy palm pressed down on Lu Ming. Small tricks. Lu Ming sneered. He stepped forward and struck out with his palm as well. A palm that was the color of chaos blasted out and clashed with his opponent. The two palms collided and a bright light burst out. A vibration wave spread out and dispersed the black light around. Bang! In the next moment, Shi Tian's divine palm print collapsed, and the chaos palm print continued to attack Shi Tian. Shi Tian's expression changed. The holy light on his body became even more brilliant, and a long spear appeared in his hand. God's spear of punishment, go! Shi Tian shouted. The divine spear cut through the void, as if it could penetrate everything in the world, and stabbed toward Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Shi Tian's cultivation had reached the LV2 martial royal realm, and he had cultivated a medium-grade earth spiritual body. His combat strength was astonishing, and he was a heaven's favorite on the same level as He Yu, Wang Xiao, and Luo Xiang. He stood at the peak of all the heaven's favorites who entered the secret realm. Not many people could take this move of his. But he met Lu Ming. The chaos domain covered the area. Lu Ming cast the prison-suppressing heavenly art and threw a punch. The shadow of the prison-suppressing steel flashed on his fist and it hit the tip of the holy spear directly. Clang! A deafening sound was heard. The divine spear that Shi Tian thrust out was shaking violently. The terrifying power flowed along the spear and into Shi Tian's arm, making his body shake. Bang! In the next moment, the divine spear exploded. Shi Tian's body trembled and he retreated a few hundred meters, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. Why would I? The other two young men were dumbfounded. Even Shi Tian's combat strength was not Lu Ming's match. How was this possible? Let's go. Shi Tian turned around and left without saying a word. Come and go as you please, how can it be that easy? Lu Ming said coldly. He took a step forward and activated the wind element technique, approaching Shi Tian in an instant. The terrifying fist force was aimed at Shi Tian. Shi Tian roared in anger and used all his strength to fight Lu Ming. However, although he was strong, there was still a gap between him and Lu Ming. In less than 10 moves, he was beaten to the point where he vomited blood. Senior Shi Tian, we will avenge you. The other young man was so scared that he left these words and ran away. Hee, so these are your fellow disciples? Lu Ming sneered. Shi Tian let out an angry roar and tried his best to resist. However, Lu Ming's chaos domain crushed him and he retreated. Die! Lu Ming's punch broke through Shi Tian's defense and was about to kill him. Suddenly, a powerful aura burst out from Shi Tian's body. A shadow appeared on Shi Tian's body, and an invisible force burst out. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This energy was very similar to the light sword that Lu Ming had faced in the sword pagoda. It was a power of the same level. Bang! Lu Ming's figure flew backward from the impact of this force. Lu Ming, I'll definitely kill you next time. Shi Tian left these words and rushed into the depths of the tunnel. It turns out that Shi Tian has also obtained an inheritance. Lu Ming frowned. Shi Tian must have also received an inheritance. Because he had just received the inheritance not long ago, he had not refined it yet. Therefore, this inheritance had the function of automatically protecting the owner. After refining it, this function would disappear. Next time, if the inheritance can't protect its master, it'll kill you. There was a sharp glint in Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming, are you alright? Qiao Yingying stepped forward and asked. I'm fine, let's go. Lu Ming said. Chapter 1434, 1434 The corpse of the golden eagle. They continued forward. Although the black light in this passage was very powerful, it was mainly a threat to supremes or some weaker emperors. It could still block the stronger ones. The three of them advanced another 1,000 miles or so before finally reaching the end. The passage disappeared. In front of them was a flat piece of land, but it was filled with gray fog. The mist greatly affected one's vision. Some of the young men rushed into the mist and disappeared. Lu Ming and the other two did not hesitate and rushed into the fog. It was completely silent in the mist, as if there were no living beings. Only the heartbeats of the three could be heard. However, after walking for a while, only one of the three had their hearts beating. Lu Ming turned around and saw that Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao were nowhere to be seen. What's going on? Just a moment ago, Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao had been following behind him. How did they suddenly disappear? Yingying, brother Qiu. Lu Ming called out. His voice could be heard from afar, but there was no response. Lu Ming looked around but did not see anyone. Earlier, there were clearly many young men who had rushed in, but now, there was not a single person. Could it be formation? No, it's not formation, Lu Ming observed carefully. There was no array at all. This area is very strange. It can affect one's senses. Perhaps they are not far from me, but we can't see each other. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. In this world, there were many wondrous places that had even more mysterious functions than formations that no one had laid down. It seems like we can only meet up after we leave this area. At the thought of this, Lu Ming identified the direction and walked straight ahead. However, Lu Ming stopped after a short while. He discovered that there was an invisible energy in the surroundings that was seeping into his body and slowly attacking his soul. Yes, there was an invisible energy here that could attack the soul. Even his chaos domain found it difficult to defend against it. Fortunately, Lu Ming's soul had been tempered in the world refining tribulation bell when he was going through the martial royal realm Great Tribulation. It was dozens of times stronger than before. This attack did not matter to Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored him and continued to move forward. Along the way, he found many pits on the ground, some of which looked like palm prints. Could it be that in the distant past, there was a great battle here? Lu Ming made a guess. Bang! Lu Ming's punch landed on the ground. However, the ground did not move at all. There was not a single mark. It's so hard. Lu Ming gasped in shock. The ground here was made of a strange metal that was strong and indestructible. Even with Lu Ming's power, he could not leave a single mark on it. The thing that had left so many potholes on the ground was definitely a terrifying existence. As Lu Ming advanced, he realized that the energy that attacked the soul was getting stronger. Although it was nothing to Lu Ming's current soul strength, it was definitely a great test for some of the other prodigies. What a powerful fluctuation ahead! All of a sudden, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He discovered that there were waves of fluctuations coming over. They were very strong, as if there was an expert cultivating in front of him. Lu Ming hesitated for a moment. He concealed his aura and decided to go and take a look. Soon, a huge object appeared in front of them. It was an eagle, a giant eagle, with golden feathers and the size of a mountain. The fluctuations were coming from this giant eagle. However, this golden eagle was obviously dead. There was no sign of life on its body. However, the fluctuation was indeed extremely terrifying. The closer he got, the more Lu Ming felt that it was terrifying. It's the aura of a Saint Realm expert. Moreover, this fluctuation is even more profound than that of an ordinary Saint Realm expert. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Lu Ming had sensed the auras of the mysterious Sky Saint and Elder Hung of the Dragon God Valley, but they were not as good as the Golden Eagle. This giant Golden Eagle was definitely not just a bright saint. It was even an eminent saint or an absolute saint. There are words. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He noticed that under one of the golden eagle's wings, there was a word evil. Evil. What did it mean? Lu Ming did not know. Moreover, Lu Ming did not see any wounds around the eagle's body. He had no idea how the eagle had died. I wonder if I can keep this giant eagle. Its entire body is full of treasures. Lu Ming had many thoughts. He took out a storage ring of higher quality and circulated his Jin Yuan, causing the ring to fly above the eagle. A gravitational force was generated from the ring. To Lu Ming's surprise, he easily put away the giant eagle's corpse. Ha, I've earned it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He kept the storage ring and continued on his way. This area was deathly silent, as if Lu Ming was the only one in this vast world. This feeling would drive one crazy if they stayed too long. Moreover, there was an invisible energy that continuously seeped into Lu Ming's body and attacked his soul. He did not know how long he had been walking. When Lu Ming took a step forward, the surrounding environment suddenly changed drastically. The fog disappeared and Lu Ming came to a platform. A step away, so close yet so far. He walked out of the fog just like that. Voices could be heard from the front. Lu Ming looked over and realized that there were many people gathered there. Qiu Ying, Qiu Hao. Lu Ming saw two people at a glance. Lu Ming. When the two of them saw Lu Ming, they walked over in joy. When did you guys pass through the misty area? Lu Ming asked. I've only just arrived, Qiu Ying explained. Their encounter was exactly the same as Lu Ming's. After entering the misty area, they were separated from the rest. It was as if they were the only one left in the world. There was also that kind of energy that attacked the soul. They gritted their teeth and continued forward. They didn't expect to successfully pass through the foggy area. However, they were different from Lu Ming. Lu Ming had touched the giant eagle's corpse, while they had not touched anything. Lu Ming. At this moment, a deep voice was heard. Three young men walked over and greeted Lu Ming. It was the three Ruan brothers. The three brothers of the Ruan clan were connected by heart. When they worked together, they were not weak. After entering the great emperor's secret realm, they had successfully broken through to the martial royal realm. It was not strange that they had come here. What's going on in front? Lu Ming's gaze was fixed ahead. In front of him, many people stopped, as if they were blocked. There's an abyss in front of us. It's blocking our way. Qiu Ying explained. Lu Ming walked closer to take a look. It was indeed an abyss that was 100 miles wide. At the bottom of the abyss, there was a terrifying devouring power. Once people flew into the abyss, they would be devoured and fall into the abyss. No one could escape. He couldn't fly over this abyss. Chapter 1435, 1435 The Heavenly Tao Stone Bridge. Lu Ming walked forward and found a stone bridge. This stone bridge led to the other side of the abyss. That is the Heavenly Tao Stone. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted and he looked shocked. That was because the stone bridge was covered with Heavenly Tao stones. There were countless of them. Countless Heavenly Tao stones formed a stone bridge that was 100 miles long, leading to the other side of the abyss. Heavens, how many Heavenly Tao stones were there? His heart twitched. Was this the work of the great emperor? It was truly too shocking. It's impossible to excavate the Heavenly Tao stone on the stone bridge. Someone tried it before, but they were shaken down the abyss. The eldest of the three Ruan brothers, Wan Tian, explained. Lu Ming nodded. He had already guessed this. Otherwise, with so many Heavenly Tao stones in front of him, this place would have long been covered in blood. Many young men had gathered at the head of the bridge. They looked at the stone bridge with worried expressions. Someone's on the bridge again. Qiu Ying said in a low voice. At the end of the bridge, a young man stepped onto the stone bridge. When he stepped onto the stone bridge, he seemed to feel a terrifying pressure. His body trembled slightly, but he gritted his teeth and continued forward. After walking for a while, his body suddenly trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. He quickly retreated from the stone bridge and let out a long breath. Still no. The young man sighed. You're really trash. Let me do it. A cold voice sounded. A young man walked out of the crowd and stepped onto the stone bridge. Wang Xiao. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Wang Xiao's body emanated a sharp aura, like a divine sword that could slice apart anything. He walked forward step by step at a very fast speed. Soon, he had covered more than half of the distance. After that, his speed gradually slowed down. However, it didn't take long for him to cross the 100-mile stone bridge and disappear from everyone's sight. A leader-level figure is indeed powerful. This stone bridge can only be crossed by a heaven's favorite with a low-tier earth spiritual body. The heavenly Tao aura on it is too strong. Many people sighed. As expected, it's because of the heavenly Tao aura. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. There were too many heavenly Tao stones on the stone bridge. The aura of heavenly Tao on this stone bridge was definitely terrifying. The aura of the heavenly path was very useful to both warriors and inscription masters. They could use it to comprehend the path and raise their cultivation. However, this was only the heavenly Tao aura. Within a certain concentration and range, if the heavenly Tao aura was too dense, not only would it not be beneficial, it would also be harmful. The powerful aura of the heavenly Tao could crush people to death. The stone bridge in front of them was just like that. Damn it. It was not easy for me to enter Emperor Tsang's chamber. Am I going to be blocked by a stone bridge? I can't accept this. I'm really unwilling, but I can't do anything about it. Many people sighed. This was Emperor Tsang's palace. Perhaps, as long as they crossed this stone bridge, they would be at the center of Emperor Tsang's palace. Perhaps, there would be countless treasures and even Emperor Tsang's inheritance waiting for them. But now, their path was blocked by a stone bridge. It was hard to accept this. Then, more and more people tried, but most of them failed. Some tried to force their way in, but they were crushed to death and fell into the endless abyss. Ill try. Lu Ming stepped forward. Qiu Ying, Wan Tian, and the rest did not stop him. They knew how powerful Lu Ming was. This stone bridge could not do anything to him. Lu Ming stepped forward and the chaos domain covered his entire body. What a dense heavenly Tao aura. Lu Ming's eyes moved. The aura of the heavenly Tao here was too powerful. It was many times stronger than the heavenly Tao engravings that Lu Ming had faced previously. This kind of power was far beyond what they could bear at their level. Not only could they not comprehend the Tao from it, but they also felt a strong pressure on their bodies. This was the pressure of the heavenly Tao. However, Lu Ming's chaos domain shook and the pressure from the heavenly Tao disappeared without a trace. Everything in the world comes from the chaos. The chaos realm, the emperor of thousands of realms, and the aura of the heavenly Tao are useless against the chaos realm. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, he continued forward. The stone bridge was very narrow and could only allow one person to pass. Lu Ming strode forward and very quickly, he had covered half the distance. However, at this moment, Lu Ming suddenly turned around and went back the way he came. What is this person doing? I thought he could pass the test easily. Why did he return now? It doesn't mean anything if he was relaxed at the start. Perhaps he was more relaxed when he charged forward with all his might. It's normal for him to be lacking in strength now. That's true, this stone bridge isn't something anyone can cross. Lu Ming's actions caused some people to discuss. Qiu Ying, Qiu Hao, and the others were also surprised. Based on their understanding of Lu Ming, he should have no problem crossing the stone bridge given his abilities. Why did he return the way he came? Very soon, Lu Ming reached the bridge. Ying, brother Chiu, come up. I'll bring you over. Lu Ming said. What? Chiu Ying, Chiu Hao, and the 3 Yuan brothers were all stunned. The others were also stunned. Lu Ming had returned and he actually wanted to bring people over. How was this possible? It would be difficult for anyone to go there alone, and even a genius like Wang Shao would find it difficult to reach the second half of the journey. And now, Lu Ming was saying that he wanted to bring someone along. This was really hard to believe. Ying, Lu Ming called out again. Chiu Ying and Chiu Hao finally reacted. Ah, okay. Chiu Ying was the first to step forward and stood in front of Lu Ming, while Chiu Hao stood behind him. Stepping onto the stone bridge meant that their lives were in danger. However, they chose to believe in Lu Ming. He had brought them too many miracles along the way. Brother Wan, I'll send Ying and the others over first. I'll come and find you later. Lu Ming said to Wan Tian. Ah, okay. Wan Tian nodded in a daze, still a little confused. Let's go. The chaos domain enveloped Chiu Ying and Chiu Hao, and the 3 of them stepped onto the stone bridge. Although the chaos realm was wonderful, it was only at level 1. Moreover, the stone bridge was very narrow and could only allow 1 person to walk. Therefore, Lu Ming could not bring too many people at one time. He could only bring 2 to 3 people. Therefore, he planned to send Chiu Ying and the others over before returning to send the 3 Yuan brothers over. Everyone was looking at Lu Ming. Some people sneered, thinking that Lu Ming would play with fire and die here. Lu Ming and the other 2 stepped onto the stone bridge. The powerful heavenly Tao aura outside pressed down on the chaos realm, causing it to tremble. However, it managed to withstand it in the end. The 3 of them walked forward step by step. Very soon, they had covered the distance that Lu Ming had covered and continued to move forward. Soon, the 3 of them successfully reached the other side. Success! This person can actually bring people over, unbelievable. This person must have some kind of treasure that can resist the aura of the heavenly Tao. Lu Ming's success caused a commotion at the scene. Chapter 1436 Black Wings. Guys, look. He's back. Someone said. In front of the stone bridge, a figure walked over. It was Lu Ming. Not long after, Lu Ming returned to the starting point. Buzz! A figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a young man with a burning gaze. Kid, take me there now. This young man was the one who sneered the most earlier. He thought that Lu Ming would die on the bridge. Now that he saw that Lu Ming could really bring people over, he was the first to rush forward. Me too, take me there. Bring me. One by one, the young men stepped forward and surrounded Lu Ming. I'm not free. Lu Ming said as he scanned the surroundings. What do you mean by this? Not free. If you don't take me there, then you don't need to go there yourself. The expression of the young man who spoke first turned cold. An ice-cold engine was locked onto Lu Ming. The other people also looked unfriendly. Indeed. You want to get the great emperor's treasure and leave us here. How can you do that? Someone said. Lu Ming was so angry that he almost laughed. He did not have the ability to go over and yet he was blaming Lu Ming. Since he could not get it, he could not let Lu Ming get it. Get lost, scram! Lu Ming roared. A terrifying blast spread in all directions. Those with weaker cultivation could not help but retreat. Everyone, let's join forces. With so many of us, it's enough to take him down. Let's control him and let him send us over one by one. The young man who spoke first shouted. Boom! 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 Auras burst out one after another. There were at least a few hundred people at the scene. Each and every one of them stared at Lu Ming with unfriendly eyes, and their auras pressed down on Lu Ming. How can you people be like this? How can you force us to bring you along? Lu Ming, don't worry about us. You can cross the bridge first. Wan Tian's deep voice rang out. Kid, surrender now. If you cross the bridge alone, your friends will fall into this endless abyss. It was still the young man who had spoken first. He spoke coldly. Hee hee. Lu Ming chuckled and looked at the young man. He really brought this upon himself. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ming's figure moved and he appeared in front of the youth. The young man's expression changed and he wanted to retreat. However, Lu Ming waved his hand and the chaos domain covered him, forming a huge hand of chaos that crushed the young man's defense and caught him in his hand. Let me go, what do you want to do? I'm warning you, my senior brother is the leader of the Heaven Seat King, the young man shouted and threatened Lu Ming. I'll send you to the abyss to play. Lu Ming sneered. You dare. Everyone, let's attack together and capture this person. The young man roared, instigating the others. Put him down. You're looking for death. More than a dozen people shouted as they charged at Lu Ming. More than a dozen attacks were aimed at Lu Ming. Lightning Origin Technique. Lu Ming's Chaos Domain turned into a Thunder Domain. He cast the Thunder Elemental Technique and thrust his palm forward. 10 lightning spears appeared in the air and pierced through the air. More than a dozen young masters were directly pierced by the lightning spears and died on the spot. The fact that he had killed more than 10 first-level martial royal realm young men with a single palm caused the others' expressions to change drastically. They finally realized that not only could Lu Ming cross the stone bridge by himself, but he could also bring people over with him. He relied on his terrifying abilities. After killing more than 10 young men as a warning to the others, the rest of them were too afraid to make a move. Lu Ming waved his hand, grabbed the young man's big hand, and brought him out of the abyss. Don't, looking down at the endless abyss, the young man was so scared that he kept screaming. I'll send you down. Lu Ming said coldly and opened his palm. The young man was devoured by the devouring power of the abyss and fell into the endless abyss. Only his shrill screams could be heard faintly. Who else wants to go down? I don't mind giving you a ride. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the entire venue. No one dared to make a sound. Lu Ming's combat strength could completely crush them. Brother Wan, let's get on the bridge. Lu Ming said. The 3 Wan brothers nodded and stood in a row with Lu Ming. They walked forward and soon crossed the stone bridge. In front of the stone bridge was a stone wall that blocked the way. This stone wall was indestructible and could not be broken. On the stone wall, there was a door of light. This was the only way. The people who had come over earlier had obviously left through this door of light. Let's go in. Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded and stepped through the door of light. The space trembled. In the next moment, Lu Ming was in a stone room. What? Lu Ming swept his gaze around and realized that he was the only one in the stone room. Qiao Ying and the others were nowhere to be found. It seemed that the door was a teleportation door. It teleported them in and separated them. Whoosh! All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt a sharp aura coming at him. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming took a step forward and retreated rapidly. However, the sharp intent was also astonishingly fast. It followed closely behind Lu Ming and slashed at him. What the hell is that? Lu Ming frowned. He could only vaguely see a black light slashing at him. As to what it was too fast and he could not see clearly. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and threw a punch. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. Lu Ming's violent fist force crushed forward and finally pushed back the thing that was slashing at him. At this time, Lu Ming finally saw what had attacked him. A pair of wings. It had a pair of jet black wings. They were not the wings of a demonic beast, but rather, they were made from a strange metal. Every feather on the wings was black and shiny. They were sharp like divine swords. Lu Ming thought of Hai Pingtian from the Divine Ruins continents. Hai Pingtian also had a pair of wings, which was an emperor's spirit weapon. However, that pair of wings was trash when compared to the pair in front of him. The pair in front of him were holy weapons. Lu Ming fell in love with it at one glance. I'm quite lucky. I've just teleported here and I've already encountered a holy weapon. Lu Ming smiled. He took a step forward and pounced toward the black wings. He reached out his hand and was about to grab the black wings. Chi-chi. The black wings spread open like two divine swords, slashing toward Lu Ming. They were extremely sharp. Lu Ming waved his fist and activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art. He covered it with the chaos domain and bombarded the wings. With a clang, the wing was once again sent flying. Buzz! Its wings were sent flying, and it actually flapped to escape. You have some intelligence, but you can't escape from me. Lu Ming pressed forward with one hand and the chaos realm erupted, enveloping the entire stone room. No matter how the black wings flew, they could not escape the range of the chaos realm. Shrink. The chaos domain began to shrink and finally trapped the black wing. Refine. Then, Lu Ming's essential core surged into the black wings and began to refine them. Soon after, the wing shrank slowly and was caught by Lu Ming. Chapter 1437, 1437 The Goshawk and the Black Shadow, so it's a bright saint weapon. Black wings. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The bright saint weapon was the exclusive weapon of the bright saint. Above that, there were great saint weapons and absolute saint weapons. After a round of refinement, Lu Ming had only gained a preliminary grasp of this holy weapon. He could not refine it completely with his current cultivation. He could only refine it slowly in the future and deepen his grasp of the black wings. He tossed the black wings and they flew behind Lu Ming, sinking into his back. The next moment, Lu Ming had an idea. Voila! On his back, the black wings spread out, making Lu Ming look as if he had grown a pair of wings out of thin air. Buzz! With a flap of the black wings, Lu Ming's figure disappeared from his original spot at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming circled the stone chamber dozens of times before returning to his original spot. Not bad. Lu Ming was very satisfied with the black wings. He had the black wings. If he combined them with the power of the wind elemental technique and the air frozen bead, his speed would definitely be greatly increased. At the same time, the black wings also had a strong offensive power. Moreover, the wings could cover the whole body and have a strong defensive ability. This spirit weapon could be said to be one of the very few spirit weapons that had all the functions. If it was sold, the price would be more than 10 times more expensive than other spirit weapons of the same level. With a thought, the black wings retracted and disappeared into his skin. Then, Lu Ming looked around. Other than the black wings and the passage in front of him, there was nothing else in the stone room. Lu Ming stepped forward and walked toward the passage. Gah! All of a sudden, a screech was heard. A huge black goshawk appeared at the entrance of the passage and pounced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. Of course, this goshawk was not real. It was condensed from some kind of energy. Most importantly, it had appeared too suddenly. Lu Ming subconsciously retreated rapidly. However, he realized that the goshawk did not give chase. Instead, it hovered in the air and looked at Lu Ming. Young man, go back. Don't continue forward, or there will be a great disaster. The goshawk suddenly spoke. Who are you? Lu Ming asked. It doesn't matter who I am. Let's go back. There's no road ahead. The goshawk spoke again. Great disaster. No way out. I don't believe it. If I don't try, How will I know there's no way out? Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. They had encountered so many obstacles along the way. How could Lu Ming be blocked by a goshawk? The goshawk seemed to sigh. It flapped its wings and pounced at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming activated his chaos domain and threw a punch. The violent fist force crushed over, causing the stone room to rumble and shake. This is the chaos domain. The goshawk cried out in alarm. Then, it flapped its wings rapidly, and a terrifying gale swept out. The strong wind and Lu Ming's fist force collided, creating a series of explosive sounds. In the end, the strong wind disappeared, and Lu Ming could not help but take a few steps back. Such powerful strength. Lu Ming's expression turned grave. It seems that I have to use my full strength. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. But at this moment, a change suddenly occurred. A figure suddenly appeared in the void. It was a black shadow that was shrouded in black light. Its appearance could not be seen clearly. The moment it appeared, it pounced at the goshawk. The black shadow and the goshawk were engaged in an intense battle. Young man, I'll hold him back. You can go over. An old voice came from the shadow. It sounded gentle and comfortable. Don't go over, you have to hear me, the goshawk cried out. Boom! The black shadow pounced on the goshawk and launched an even fiercer attack. The battle was intense. Lu Ming frowned. What was going on with the goshawk and the black shadow? Was it the checkpoint of this place? Or was it a test? Why did one of them let him go over, while the other didn't? Perhaps it's just a test. Pass. Lu Ming made a decision. Since they were already here, Lu Ming could not possibly give up and leave just because of a few words from a goshawk. Buzz. He activated the wind elemental technique and the energy of the air frozen bead gushed into the air. Lu Ming took advantage of the gap between the goshawk and the black shadow to dash into the passage and disappear. Boom! The goshawk and the black shadow exchanged a blow and both retreated. AI. The goshawk sighed as it watched Lu Ming leave. Hee, Emperor Tsang, you want to stop them? Impossible. In the end, you have lost this round. A cold and ear-piercing laughter came from the black shadow, which was completely different from the gentle voice just now. However, Lu Ming could no longer hear these words. He followed the passageway and advanced. Soon, light appeared in front of him. He had reached the end of the passageway. Clang! Boom! In front of him, there was a violent roar and the sound of metal clashing. Someone was fighting. Lu Ming slowed down and dashed through the entrance of the passageway. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, he saw a small black flag flying toward him. Demonic chi was rolling on the small flag. It's an emperor's spiritual weapon without an owner. Lu Ming had an idea. Get lost! Suddenly, an overbearing roar came from the front. A huge palm formed entirely of demonic chi grabbed at Lu Ming and the small flag. Humph! Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He threw a punch and the huge palm exploded. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the small black flag. Brat, you dare to stop me! An overbearing voice rang out. In front of Lu Ming, a young man was staring at him coldly. The demonic aura around him was monstrous. This place is, Lu Ming's gaze swept past the young man, then he looked elsewhere. This was a huge hall that was extremely wide. In the void, there were many rays of treasure light dancing. Within them, there were many young men chasing after these treasure lights. Emperor's spiritual weapons and even holy weapons. Lu Ming revealed a look of surprise. Most of the lights dancing in the air were Emperor's spiritual weapons. There were hundreds of them, and there were even saint weapons and elixirs. There were about a dozen young men flying around, chasing after these treasures. From time to time, they would get into a fight over the treasures. So strong. Lu Ming noticed that these young men were all at the second level of the martial royal realm. Lu Ming saw a few familiar faces among them. He Yu, the leader of Dragon God Valley, Wang Xiao, the leader of Zhouxiao Sword Sect, Shi Tian, the leader of Tianqian Sect, Luo Xiang, the leader of Life and Death Sword Sect. They were all the leaders of the various sects who had entered this place. Indeed, those who could make it this far were all extremely powerful people. Brat, you dare to ignore me? In front of Lu Ming, the young man with surging demonic qi had a cold look in his eyes. He pointed a finger at Lu Ming. A black finger, like the finger of a demon god, pierced through the void and pointed at Lu Ming with shocking power. If he was hit, Lu Ming would definitely die. What a domineering person, taking people's lives. Lu Ming's face turned cold and he threw a punch. Boom! Lu Ming's punch collided with the other party's finger. Chapter 1438 Chapter 1438 Fighting for the Holy Weapon, Shatter. The demonic young man's eyes flashed with ferocity, but in the next moment, his expression changed drastically. He felt a terrifying power coming from his finger. This power was like an avalanche or an ancient divine mountain crashing into his finger. Kacha! His fingers made a cracking sound and were deformed. He bellowed in rage and retreated rapidly. He took more than 10 steps back and looked at Lu Ming with a sinister expression. In the previous move, Lu Ming had broken the bones of his fingers with one punch. He glanced at Lu Ming with a serious look in his eyes. He did not continue to attack. Instead, he dashed toward one of the Emperor's spiritual weapons. His territory spread out and enveloped the sword. Suppress. At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. With a wave of his hand, the Chaos Domain spread and suppressed the two king's spiritual weapons in the Chaos Domain before he put them away. Could this place be a treasure vault? Lu Ming's eyes swept across the sky. Looking at the lights that were flying randomly in the sky, a thought flashed across his mind. The next moment, Lu Ming attacked again without any hesitation. There were more than 10 young men present, and all of them had powerful cultivation. If he were to delay any longer, he would most likely not be able to get a share. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! More than a dozen young men attacked at an extremely fast speed. The light dancing in the sky became less and less as they put away the king's spiritual weapons. Within a short period of time, Lu Ming had obtained 8 emperor's spiritual weapons. Get lost! Boom! In the sky, 2 people began to fight again. It was 2 young men fighting over a saint weapon. However, the 2 of them were afraid of each other, so when they saw the saint weapon fly away, they stopped and chased after it. Soon, the king weapons were almost all collected. Only a few saint weapons and a few jade boxes were left in the sky. The jade boxes were the fastest, and they streaked across the sky like lightning bolts. Buzz! Lu Ming soared into the sky and pounced on a holy weapon. This holy weapon was a jade bangle that was filled with demonic qi. Lu Ming thought of Xian Yanqing. This jade bangle was very suitable to be given to Xian Yanqing. Get lost! Lu Ming was not the only one who had his eyes on the jade bangle. 2 other young men were also interested in it. One of them was the demonic-looking young man who had attacked Lu Ming earlier. The other person was dressed in a green robe and had an evil smile on his face. The green-robed young man made a grabbing motion and streams of green mist spread towards Lu Ming. As soon as the mist appeared, a disgusting smell filled the air. Poisonous gas. This poisonous gas was extremely poisonous. However, Lu Ming was least afraid of poison. The devouring power covered Lu Ming's entire body. He ignored the green mist and rushed past it. Then, he struck his palm at the green-robed young man. The green-robed young man did not expect Lu Ming to completely ignore the poisonous gas. His expression changed and with a wave of his hand, a group of densely packed poisonous insects appeared in front of him. The poisonous insects formed a shield in front of him. Lu Ming's palm struck down and a large number of poisonous insects exploded. The young man in green trembled and retreated dozens of meters. Bang! Then, Lu Ming's leg swept out like a steel whip toward the demonic-looking young man, forcing him to retreat. Lu Ming's right hand reached out and caught the jade bangle. And NBSP 111. The jade bangle in Lu Ming's hand was still vibrating non-stop. What a strong spiritual property! Lu Ming was overjoyed. The stronger the spirituality of a holy weapon, the higher its grade and the more precious it was. For example, Lu Ming's thunder cauldron and air-frozen bead definitely had extraordinary sounds. Hand over your saint weapon and it'll spare your life. The green-robed young man said as he stared at Lu Ming coldly. If you want to die, come here. Lu Ming's simple reply was extremely domineering. The green-robed young man's face was gloomy, and his body was filled with cold killing intent. He was the leader of the Yudu sect, one of the 13 top forces that had entered the great emperor's secret realm. He was powerful and skilled in using poison. Even the leaders of the other sects were wary of him. Now, Lu Ming actually dared to speak to him in this manner. You're looking for death. He had already sentenced Lu Ming to death in his heart. 10,000 poison bloodthirsty, die. The green-robed young man shouted coldly and pounced at Lu Ming. He waved his palm and a dense swarm of poisonous insects appeared. These poisonous insects had a hard shell on their bodies and kept spewing poisonous gas from their mouths. What was even more amazing was that these poisonous insects were actually grouping up. Countless poisonous insects formed a combat weapon and charged at Lu Ming. In the air, more than 10 combat weapons suddenly appeared. They were all made up of poisonous insects, and they were either combat swords or combat sabers. The similarity was that each of them was filled with poison. Devour. Lu Ming opened his palm and the terrifying devouring power enveloped all the poisonous insects. The devouring power burst forth and the dense poisonous gas was instantly absorbed by Lu Ming. The poisonous insects were also sucked dry of their blood essence in an instant. Their blood fell to the ground like raindrops. What a powerful poisonous gas! After devouring so much poisonous gas, Lu Ming felt that his body was slightly numb. Lu Ming could not help but sigh at the power of this poisonous gas. This was the first time that Lu Ming's body felt numb from being poisoned. In the past, any poisonous gas that was devoured by Lu Ming's devouring power would be refined and would not affect him at all. This is the Yuan continent after all. This poisonous gas also gave Lu Ming a reminder. After all, this was the Yuan continent, not the continent group of the divine ruins. The laws of heaven and earth were complete, and everything in the world was different from the continent group of the divine ruins. It was possible that some terrifying poisonous gas was born, and even the devouring power could not devour it. Lu Ming warned himself that he could not be careless when facing poisonous gas in the future. Of course, the green-robed young man's poisonous gas was nothing to Lu Ming. It only numbed Lu Ming's body slightly before it was refined by the refining power. The green-robed young man looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. His poisonous gas had been devoured by Lu Ming. How was this possible? Even an expert with a much higher cultivation than him would not dare to face his poison head-on, let alone devour it into his body. You want to use this little bit of poisonous gas to poison people? What a joke! Lu Ming smiled indifferently and took a step forward. The terrifying chaos realm pressed toward the green-robed young man. The green-robed youth's expression changed drastically as he tried his best to block. However, his poisonous gas had lost its power and his combat strength was much weaker than the other leaders. He was crushed by Lu Ming's chaos domain and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body flew far away and many of his bone armor had been broken. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the battle for the holy weapon had entered a state of white heat. More than a dozen young men were fighting over a few saint weapons. In the end, the saint weapons were taken away by different people. Luo Xiang of the Life and Death Sword sect had become even more powerful after receiving the inheritance of the sword way. His sword qi broke through the air and cut through everything, seizing a holy weapon. Shi Tian of the Tianxin sect also obtained a holy weapon like a god. He Yu of Dragon God Valley had the Blood Dragon combat body, which was extremely powerful. He had also obtained a saint weapon. This made the other young men green with envy. Chapter 1439 Besieging Lu Ming Bang. At this time, a flying jade box was accidentally broken by someone. Instantly, a palm-sized, jade-like armor appeared in the air, flickering with strange fluctuations. "That's a spiritual god defensive treasure," someone exclaimed. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the jade armor, their eyes burning with passion. Spiritual god defensive treasure, it was actually a spiritual god defensive treasure. No matter how powerful a martial artist's spiritual body was, the spiritual god was the weakest and the most fatal weakness of a martial artist. If one were to encounter a danger that could directly harm one's soul in some secret realms, historical remains, or forbidden grounds, a spiritual god defensive treasure could save one's life. This kind of treasure was extremely difficult to refine because it was linked to the soul. On the market, it was a treasure that couldn't be bought with money, and its value was immeasurable. "It's mine! It's mine!" More than a dozen young men moved at the same time and rushed toward the jade armor. "Get lost! You're the one who should get lost!" Boom! 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 More than a dozen people were engaged in an intense battle. Sword qi and saber radiance were everywhere. Everyone wanted to get the jade armor. For a time, no one could succeed. Buzz! Black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. At the same time, he activated the wind element technique. With a flap of his wings, his figure suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, he broke through the layers of obstacles and appeared near the jade armor. "It's you!" a young man shouted. The holy light surged towards Lu Ming like a tide. The leader of the heavenly god sect, Shi Tian. "Get lost!" Lu Ming shouted and took a step forward. He used the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps and his chaos domain burst out. The divine power on Shi Tian's body fluctuated and trembled violently. His body trembled and he was sent flying by Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming stretched out his hand and condensed a large hand, grabbing at the jade armor. "Don't even think about it." The others were in a chaotic battle. However, when they saw Lu Ming approaching the jade armor and was about to get it, they all attacked Lu Ming. All at once, there were at least 5 to 6 attacks that were aimed at Lu Ming. These people were the leaders of their respective sections. Their cultivation had reached LV2 martial royal realm, and their attack power was extremely terrifying. When 5 or 6 of them joined forces, it was even more terrifying. "Block it!" The black wings on Lu Ming's back closed together and enveloped him. At the same time, the chaos domain spread out and covered his entire body. Thump! Boom! There was a violent boom, and the chaos domain and black wings shook violently. However, Lu Ming managed to block it. At the same time, he grabbed the jade armor and kept it in his storage ring. "Hand over the treasure. Otherwise, die." A series of cold voices rang out. There were at least 6 auras that were firmly locked onto Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the room. 6 young men had surrounded him. Shi Tian, He Yu, Wang Xiao, the demonic-looking youth, the green-robed youth, and a tall and sturdy youth. The others, like Luo Xiang, stood on the side and didn't make a move. "With just the 6 of you, I'm afraid you're still a little lacking if you want to take my life." Lu Ming smiled indifferently. Also, Lu Ming turned his gaze to He Yu and said, "We're from the same sect, and you're going to attack. You can't afford such a treasure." Leave it to me. I'll report it to the sect and give you a reward. He said coldly. Leave it to you? He, what a hypocrite. If you want it, just say it. Lu Ming sneered. Humph, then I'll test you and see how much you're worth. He said coldly. His body was suffused with a blood-red light and a dragon's roar could be heard. A layer of fine blood-red dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. Bang! He took a step forward and pounced toward Lu Ming like a human-shaped T-Rex. His hand turned into a dragon's claw as he tried to grab Lu Ming. Blood dragon combat body. I'd like to see how strong it is. Lu Ming threw a punch. Bang! The fist and the dragon claw collided with a dull boom. Then, He's body trembled and he was forced to retreat. This person is so powerful. He can actually force He to retreat in a head-on battle. And NBSP, the gazes of the other youths around him focused. Among them, He's close combat ability was the strongest, and no one was his match in close combat. However, Lu Ming managed to force He to retreat. It was simply shocking. We'd better attack together. This man is demonic and not easy to deal with. Shi Tian said with cold killing intent. Lu Ming was someone he had to kill. I think so too. Let's join forces and kill this person. You don't have any objections, right? Wang Xiao said, his gaze turning to He. Don't worry. This person is lawless. He even dared to hurt my fellow disciples of Dragon God Valley. He is lawless and deserves to be killed. He coldly said. So many people against one person, and you still speak so eloquently. How despicable. A disdainful voice was heard. It was not Lu Ming but Luo Xiang. Humph. Shi Tian and the others' eyes turned cold, but they didn't say anything. Attack. Shi Tian spoke and made the first move. Holy light surged around him and condensed into a holy spear, which flew toward Lu Ming. At the same time, Wang Xiao's palm released a burst of sword qi, and an extremely sharp sword light cut through the air towards Lu Ming. Then, the youth in the green robe and the demonic qi attacked. Together with He, the six of them could fight both at close range and at long range. Moreover, they were all peerless geniuses, and their combat strength far exceeded ordinary emperors. Even a LV4 martial royal realm expert would be killed in an instant if the six of them joined forces. Even those at the 5th level of the martial emperor realm had to retreat. Kill, die. Lu Ming shouted. He flapped his black wings and charged at one of them. Lu Ming would not stand in the middle like a fool and be a live target. If he wanted to fight, he would defeat them one by one. Lu Ming chose the green-robed young man. Among the six of them, the green-robed young man was the least threatening to Lu Ming. Lu Ming dodged 3 attacks at top speed and took 2 of them head-on. He rushed to the front of the young man in green. His third bloodline emerged and waves of energy surged into Lu Ming's body, increasing his strength once again. He stretched out his left hand and the devouring power burst out, covering the young man in green. At the same time, he threw a punch with his right hand. The prison-suppressing heavenly art combined with the chaos domain and crushed out. Boom! The air trembled, forming a terrifying fist force that struck toward the green-robed youth. The poisonous gas surrounding the green-robed young man was devoured by the devouring power. Then, Lu Ming's fist force landed with a loud bang. The green-robed young man screamed in pain. His body was blown apart by Lu Ming's fist force and turned into a cloud of green mist. The next moment, the mist condensed and tried to reform its body. The green-robed young man's spiritual body was a medium-grade earth spiritual body, a highly toxic spiritual body. Like a fire spiritual body, it had a strong life force and could turn into poisonous gas to reduce typhoid fever. And NBSP, however, the youth had still suffered unimaginable damage from the primal chaos domain. His green mist began to twist and convulse as he tried to recover, but it was difficult to do so in such a short time. Chapter 1440 Killing a Leader, Exterminate. Lu Ming pressed his palm and the chaos domain expanded, enveloping the poisonous gas that the green-robed young man had turned into and began to refine it. Help! The green mist rolled and the green-robed young man's scream came out. This sound was, of course, made by the vibration of energy. Release him. A loud roar was heard, and demonic might surged. A small tower filled with demonic chi flew out from the top of the young man's head. It expanded rapidly and pressed down on Lu Ming. A holy weapon. Without a doubt, this small pagoda was also a holy weapon. These people were the leaders of their respective sections. Being able to make it here, they naturally had great gains. Each of them had obtained a saint weapon. The demonic youth was called Mo Jia, from the Tian Yu demonic sect. This pagoda was the saint weapon he had obtained when he entered the Great Emperor's secret realm. Although he couldn't use much of a holy weapon's power with his cultivation, it was still stronger than an emperor weapon. The small pagoda turned into the size of a small mountain and pressed down on Lu Ming. There was a terrifying suction force at the bottom of the pagoda that seemed to be trying to suck Lu Ming in. Buzz! On Lu Ming's back, one of the black wings flapped out and expanded rapidly. Like a blade, it slashed at the pagoda. Clang! The small tower trembled, and demonic chi churned as it was sent flying. However, the black wings were suppressed by the small tower, and they also flew back. Boom! Boom! Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, a powerful aura burst out from Hiyu, Wang Xiao, Shi Tian, and the burly young man. A combat weapon emerged from each of their bodies. They were all holy weapons. They all used their holy weapons to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression turned grave. Without his holy weapon, Lu Ming would not be afraid even if he were to be besieged by 6 masters. He might even win. However, since all of the opponents had used their holy weapons, the effect of their own combat strength was reduced. It became a collision between holy weapons, which was not good for Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming's glabella glowed and the lightning cauldron floated out. Bang! At this moment, a sword light flashed across the sky, and a jade box was shattered. A jade talisman flew out of the jade box. Hiyu and the rest surrounded Lu Ming, but the others were not just watching the show. They were chasing after the only 2 jade boxes left in the sky. The jade box from before contained a jade armor. It was clear that the treasure in the jade box was definitely more precious. As soon as the jade talismans appeared, the remaining few people began to fight for them. The faces of Hiyu, Shi Tian, and the others changed. I'll spare him this time. Shi Tian said. He was the first to rush into the sky and participate in the fight for the jade talismans. When the others saw this, they also went to fight for the jade talismans. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He did not join in the fun. Instead, he looked at the last jade box. This jade box was the fastest of the 3, and it danced in the air like a bolt of lightning. Buzz! Lu Ming suddenly made a move. He stretched out his palm and a huge hand formed, grabbing the jade box. However, the jade box was extremely agile. It dodged Lu Ming's palm in a flash. Then, Lu Ming cast the wind element technique in a flash and chased after the jade box like lightning. However, the jade box glowed and its speed suddenly increased, leaving Lu Ming in the dust. I'll go. Lu Ming could not help but curse in his heart. A jade box was actually faster than him. Was there any justice in this world? Lu Ming chased after the jade box. On the other side, the outcome of the battle for the jade talismans had already been decided. In the end, the jade talisman was obtained by a peerless woman. Shi Tian and the others' eyes flickered, but they did not continue to snatch it. Obviously, they were quite afraid of this woman. At this time, everyone's eyes were on the last jade box. Immediately, everyone moved. Their figures moved horizontally and horizontally as they pounced towards the jade box. However, the jade box was extremely agile. It flashed in the air and dodged everyone's pounce. Even when someone used their saint weapon, it was useless. I suggest that we spread out in all directions of the stone room and release our domains to cover this stone room. This way, the jade box will have nowhere to escape. Someone suggested. Good. I don't have any objections. After we get this jade box, we'll fight for it with our own abilities. Someone else said. No one had any objections, and their figures flickered, scattering in all directions. A total of 13 people. Originally, there were 14 people in total, including Lu Ming. However, the green-robed young man was killed by Lu Ming, so there were 13 people left. Buzz. 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 A domain bloomed out from each of the 13 people. It expanded rapidly and slowly covered the entire stone room. The area that the jade box could move in became smaller and smaller. In the end, it had no choice but to be enveloped by the domain. Ha, it's mine. A young man was overjoyed. It was Shi Tian. The jade box was finally covered by his domain. Get over here. Shi Tian shouted as his territory rapidly contracted. The jade box glowed and wanted to escape. Then, with a bang, the jade box exploded, revealing the true appearance of the item inside. It was actually a medicinal pill. On it, there was a dense fluorescent light, and a strange phenomenon appeared. The aura of the Great Tao lingered. Upon seeing this pill, everyone's eyes widened. The Saint Breakthrough Pill, it's the Saint Breakthrough Pill. This Saint Breakthrough Pill is mine. Demonic Jia was the first to roar. The others also revealed a blazing light. It was actually a Saint Breakthrough Pill. Even Lu Ming's heart was burning with passion. The Saint Breakthrough Pill could help one break through to the martial saint realm. It was extremely difficult for a martial emperor to defeat a martial saint. In the Yuan continent, there were as many peak stage martial emperors as there were hairs on an ox. For example, in the 13 top sects of the Azure continent, there were also many peak stage martial emperors. However, martial saints were indeed very, very few. Only martial saints could be considered experts in the Yuan continent. However, even top talents like Shi Tian and He Yu did not have the confidence to break through to the martial saint realm. In history, there had been many outstanding geniuses who had reached the peak of the martial emperor realm a long time ago, but had been unable to break through to the martial saint realm. They had been stuck at the peak of the martial emperor realm for their entire lives, and had died at the end of their lifespans. How could they be unwilling? The Saint Breakthrough Pill could increase the chances of breaking through to the martial saint realm by 30%. The probability of 30% was already very terrifying. It would make countless powerhouses at the peak of the martial emperor realm fight for it. This was especially so for the geniuses. If the probability increased by 30%, they would have a great chance of becoming a martial saint in the future. Don't even think about it. The Saint Breakthrough Pill just so happens to be in my domain. It's fated with me. Shi Tian roared, and his realm shrank, trying to get the Saint Breakthrough Pill. However, the Saint Breakthrough Pill seemed to have a mind of its own. With a shake, it actually broke through Shi Tian's domain and escaped from his control. It's mine. The others all flew up and pounced towards the Saint Breakthrough Pill. All kinds of light condensed into large hands that grabbed at the Saint Breakthrough Pill. However, the Saint Breakthrough Pill glowed and flew past them, piercing through the hands and making them miss. Buzz. Lu Ming cast the wind element technique. The black wings on his back flapped and he pounced at the Saint Breakthrough Pill as fast as lightning. He appeared a few meters away from the pill in an instant. He stretched out his hand, and the chaos domain condensed into a palm, which grabbed at the Saint Breakthrough Pill. Chapter 1441 Chapter 1441 Saint Breakthrough Pill in hand. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, although the Saint Breakthrough Pill was blocked for a moment, it was only for a moment. The Saint Breakthrough Pill pierced through the large hand that Lu Ming had condensed and rushed past. Even the huge hand formed by the Chaos Domain could not stop the Saint Breakthrough Pill. The level of my Chaos Domain is still too low. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He knew that it wasn't that the Chaos Realm was useless, but that the level of his Chaos Realm was too low. It was only a level 1 realm, so it couldn't stop the Saint Breakthrough Pill. Then, the others all made their moves, but none of them managed to get the Saint Breakthrough Pill. Suddenly, Lu Ming had an idea. Bubbles and Dandan appeared on his shoulders. The two fellows were still burping, and the smell of medicine was coming out of their mouths. Another spirit herb? As soon as Dandan appeared, her eyes were rolling around. Dandan, Bubble, help me get that lousy Saint Pill. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Dandan and Bubbles. Chirping. Lu Ming had just finished speaking when Bubbles waved its pair of small claws. The space churned like waves as the bubble danced. Clang. The Saint Breakthrough Pill was flying, but it suddenly seemed to hit a hard wall with a thud. The space had been frozen by the bubble. Lu Ming was overjoyed. As expected of a space-time spirit mouse, Bubbles could control time and space. Even in the Yuan continent, where space was extremely stable, Bubbles could still control space. With a wave of her claws, the space around her was controlled and turned into a spatial box, sealing the Saint Breakthrough Pill within. As for Lu Ming, he moved his body and rushed over. Stop him! Wang Xiao shouted, and a sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. With a wave of his hand, he destroyed the sword ray. The mountain and river diagram appeared between his eyebrows. He was going to put the Saint Breakthrough Pill into the mountain and river diagram. However, at this moment, the Saint Breakthrough Pill shone brightly. The light was like a sharp sword, breaking the frozen space formed by the bubble in one fell swoop. Then, like a bolt of lightning, it rushed to the side of the stone room. On the side of the stone room, there was a passage. The Saint Breakthrough Pill rushed into the passage directly. Where do you think you're going? Lu Ming cast the wind element technique. With a flap of his black wings, he flew toward the tunnel like lightning. Chase! Behind him, the others were also chasing after him. Dandan, stop them! Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Dandan. Leave it to me. Dandan grinned. Buzz! After Lu Ming rushed into the passage, Dandan opened its mouth. In a flash of light, a shield condensed and blocked the passage. Shi Tian was the first to arrive. He punched the shield, but the shield didn't move at all. Damn it! Shi Tian roared. Following that, the others also rushed over and launched their attacks. However, when their attacks landed on the tortoise shell shield, they were unable to break it in a short time. Dandan had consumed too many spiritual herbs during this period of time, as well as a few half-saint herbs from before. Her injuries had already recovered, and she had even advanced. The turtle shell shield that he had condensed with all his strength was not so easy to break. Damn it, that's the core. Quickly break the turtle shell. Let's attack together. Anxious voices rang out as Shi Tian, Wang Xiao, and the others joined forces to attack. The tortoise shield trembled, and it would be broken soon. However, to Lu Ming, it was enough that he could block it for a while. After Lu Ming rushed into the passage, he did not stop and chased after the Saint Breakthrough Pill at top speed. Chirping. The bubble shrieked and suddenly flew off Lu Ming's shoulder. It opened its mouth and a transparent bubble suddenly appeared, enveloping the Saint Breakthrough Pill. The Saint Breakthrough Pill glowed and tried to break through, but it couldn't break through at all. This transparent bubble not only contained the space domain, but also the time domain. Next, bubbles flew over and swallowed the transparent bubbles in one gulp. Its furry body flashed and it returned to Lu Ming's shoulder. Then, it obediently opened its mouth, and the broken divine pill flew out. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the Saint Breakthrough Pill. Lu Ming, I'll seal it. Dandan spoke and then waved her claws. Dense inscriptions appeared and wrapped around the Saint Breakthrough Pill, forming a sealing formation. Not only could it prevent the Saint Breakthrough Pill from flying around, but it could also prevent the loss of medicinal strength. Saint Breakthrough Pill. Lu Ming smiled. He took out a jade box and put the Saint Breakthrough Pill in it, putting it away in a storage ring. The Saint Breakthrough Pill was priceless. For those who were stuck at the peak of the martial emperor realm and could not break through, it was more precious than any holy weapon. Those people would be willing to buy a Saint Breakthrough Pill even if they had to go bankrupt. Of course, Lu Ming did not plan to sell it. Such an item would be of great use if he kept it with him. Lu Ming kept the Saint Breakthrough Pill and looked ahead. In front of the passage, there seemed to be traces of light. We should be approaching the core of the Emperor's bedroom. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he stepped forward. As for Dandan and Bubbles, they returned to the mountain and river diagram to continue digesting the medicinal effects. It didn't take long for them to reach the passageway. However, the amazing thing was that when they looked out from the passageway, it was like a starry sky. And that light came from the starry sky. Is it really the starry sky outside the passage? Lu Ming muttered in his heart. He muttered to himself for a moment before he stepped out and walked out. The moment Lu Ming stepped out of the passageway, he felt the space around him change. The next moment, he found himself in a starry sky. It was a real starry sky. Up, down, left, right, there were stars all around, and he was floating in the starry sky. The next moment, Lu Ming's eyes widened in shock. In the starry sky ahead, there were two huge objects. One of them was a huge goshawk. This goshawk was too huge and majestic. It covered the sky and seemed to be even bigger than the stars. A pair of huge eyes were looking at Lu Ming. It was alive. The huge goshawk was actually alive. In front of the goshawk was a human figure. The figure was also extremely huge, like a giant that could support the sky. However, this figure's appearance could not be seen clearly. It was shrouded in a layer of black light and twisted in the starry sky, looking extremely evil. The huge figure seemed to be sizing Lu Ming up. However, Lu Ming realized that both the goshawk and the huge human figure seemed to be severely injured. One of the goshawk's wings was missing, and it was covered in wounds. Some of the wounds were even bleeding. The huge eyes were very bright, but they seemed a little listless. It was a very strange feeling. The giant figure was not any better. It was missing a leg, had claw marks on its body, and even had a large hole in its chest. Ha ha ha, Emperor Tsang, it seems like you have lost in the end. You have fought against me for 60,000 years, struggling to catch your breath, but in the end, I am still slightly stronger. You will eventually be buried here. At this moment, the huge figure laughed. His laughter was like a thunderclap, rumbling between heaven and earth. Chapter 1442 Emperor Tsang is not dead. Lu Ming's mind was filled with a series of explosions. Lu Ming was dumbfounded and in disbelief. Emperor Tsang. That figure was called Emperor Tsang. Could it be that the massive goshawk in front of them was Emperor Tsang? It was said that Emperor Tsang's original form was a goshawk. Emperor Tsang was not dead yet. At this moment, Lu Ming was extremely shocked. Emperor Tsang had disappeared for 60,000 years and he was still alive. Now, Lu Ming saw him with his own eyes. That huge figure was obviously a great emperor. Shakyamuni, annihilating soul, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. The goshawk said. Ha ha ha, dragging me down with you? In your dreams. So many people have entered this secret realm. They are competing and killing each other. How many vengeful spirits, evil chi, and soul chi have they produced? I have absorbed these soul chi and have recovered a little. Even if it's only a little, it's enough to suppress you. In addition, there are some young Heaven's Pride experts who are about to reach this place. As long as I devour and refine their flesh and blood, my yuan chi will recover a little. Emperor Tsang, that will be the day of your death. Emperor Tsang, I've prepared a huge tomb for you 60,000 years ago. Even if you put up a stubborn resistance and fought against me for 60,000 years, what's the use? The outcome is already decided, even the heavens are on my side. The huge figure laughed. At this moment, countless thoughts emerged in Lu Ming's mind. Through the conversation between Emperor Tsang and that figure, many doubts in Lu Ming's heart were resolved. It was said that Emperor Tsang had disappeared 60,000 years ago and there was no news of him since. From the looks of it, Emperor Tsang met with a strong enemy and fought with him for 60,000 years. As for Emperor Tsang's subordinates, many of the skeletons that Lu Ming had found previously were most likely killed by powerful enemies. This opponent was also a great emperor. He was extremely powerful and engaged in an earth-shattering battle with Emperor Tsang. In the end, both of them were injured. However, what shocked Lu Ming was that Emperor Tsang and the huge figure were still fighting even though both of them were injured. They had been fighting for 60,000 years. The power of a great emperor was truly unimaginable. Now, the barging of Lu Ming and the rest seemed to have broken the deadlock. Before this, Lu Ming suddenly raised his eyebrows. Previously, in the stone room where he obtained the black feather wings, there was an eagle that was formed to stop him from moving forward. That should be Emperor Tsang's eagle. The black shadow behind him, who was fighting with Emperor Tsang, should be the giant figure in front of him, Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul. Emperor Tsang did not want Lu Ming and the others to continue, but Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul wanted them to continue because he wanted to refine their flesh and blood. Many thoughts appeared in Lu Ming's mind. At that moment, the huge black shadow looked at Lu Ming again and said in a loud voice, "Why are you alone?" "Alright, I'll refine you first and wait for the others." Then, a huge hand grabbed at Lu Ming. "Run!" Without thinking, Lu Ming turned and ran. However, the huge hand was so huge that it covered the sky and the sun. Moreover, the aura that it exuded was extremely terrifying. In an instant, Lu Ming felt as if his body was about to explode. The chaos realm covered his entire body and trembled continuously. Dragon roars could be heard from within his body. It was as if 9 dragons had emerged from Lu Ming's body. Chaos Domain. It's actually the Chaos Domain. Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul's voice was filled with shock. The Primal Chaos Domain. A prodigy like this should be exterminated. Dharma King Annihilating Soul's voice was filled with killing intent. Don't even think about it. With a long cry, a huge wing swept out, as if it wanted to split the entire starry sky. It struck the huge palm and destroyed it. Emperor Tsang, you are courting death. The light on Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul's body shone brightly. Like a god, he charged towards Emperor Tsang. Emperor Tsang let out a long cry and fought with Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul. The scene of the two of them fighting in the starry sky was too terrifying. The stars would be destroyed and the starry sky would shatter. Emperor Tsang and Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul were still extremely far away from Lu Ming. However, the aura of the battle made it hard for Lu Ming to breathe. He felt extremely oppressed. Great Emperor, this is the Great Emperor. He's too powerful. Emperors are like ants in front of him. No, even saints are ants. Lu Ming muttered to himself and retreated rapidly. There was no way out in this starry sky. He couldn't see the tunnel he had come from. Lu Ming could only retreat and try to stay away from the two great emperors. Little guy, since you've come here, your fate has already been decided. You'll become my nourishment. Shakyamuni Annihilating Soul's voice rang out. A jet-black ray of light shot across the boundless starry sky and shot toward Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be fixed in place. He could not move at all. Chirping. At this moment, the bubble appeared. It chirped and waved its claws rapidly. The space around Lu Ming was filled with cracking sounds. Lu Ming felt his body relax and he could move again. He flapped his black wings and at the same time, the energy of the air-frozen bead between his brows surged into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's figure retreated frantically. Even if he was facing a great emperor, Lu Ming would not wait helplessly for his death. Even if the chances of survival were small, he would fight for it. The space-time spirit rat, one of the top 10, is still alive. He should be killed. The killing intent of Shakyamuni annihilating soul was extremely strong. Don't even think about it. Emperor Tsung roared and spat out a ray of light. It blocked the ray of light that Dharma King annihilating soul shot at Lu Ming. Emperor Tsung, you can't stop him. Even if I don't kill you today, I'll kill the brat who comprehended the chaos domain and the space-time spirit rat. The voice of the soul-destroying royal technique contained boundless killing intent. At this moment, there were at least a dozen black rays of light that shot toward Lu Ming. So many. Lu Ming's pupils contracted rapidly. Although Emperor Tsung and Shakyamuni annihilating soul were severely injured and had been fighting against each other for 60,000 years, they were still extremely terrifying existences to Lu Ming. They could easily kill him. Emperor Tsung let out a long howl and flapped his wings. A dozen feathers flew out like a dozen divine swords and blocked the rays of black light. But in the end, Shakyamuni annihilating soul had the upper hand. There was still a ray of black light that dodged Emperor Tsung's attack and shot towards Lu Ming. Chirping. Bubble shouted loudly. He opened his mouth and spat out a transparent bubble that suddenly appeared in front of him. It enveloped the jet-black radiance, hoping to block it. However, as the black light flew past, the transparent bubble shattered. Although Bubbles was a space-time spirit mouse and could control space-time, his cultivation base was far too inferior to the other parties, so he was completely useless. The black light did not stop and shot toward Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if all the blood in his body had frozen. He could not move his body at all. Am I going to die here? A thought emerged in Lu Ming's mind. The great emperor was too powerful. He was the pinnacle expert of the world and the master of the world. Lu Ming stood no chance against such an expert. No matter how unwilling he was, the difference was too big, too big. Chapter 1443 Lightning Cauldron Suppression. The black light was about to reach Lu Ming's glabella. Buzz! At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella glowed and the lightning cauldron rushed out. The moment the lightning cauldron appeared, it expanded to 100,000 feet in size and blocked Lu Ming. Thump! The jet-black light struck the lightning cauldron, causing it to shake violently. Lightning flashed across the sky, eventually extinguishing the jet-black light. An absolute saint weapon. Shakyamuni annihilating soul let out an angry roar. Good, a thunder-attributed absolute saint weapon is perfect to counter you, Shakyamuni annihilating soul. It seems like the heavens aren't protecting you. In your current state, a thunder-attributed absolute saint weapon is more than enough to deal with you. Emperor Tsung's surprised voice rang out. At the same time, Emperor Tsung's voice rang in Lu Ming's mind, little brat, lend me your absolute saint weapon. All right. Lu Ming did not hesitate. With a single thought, the lightning cauldron flew forward. Emperor Tsung flapped one of his wings and the lightning cauldron flew towards him at an extreme speed. Furthermore, it rapidly grew in size until it was almost as big as Emperor Tsung's body. On top of it, there were endless flashes of lightning and it exuded a terrifying aura. Is this the true power of the lightning cauldron? Lu Ming's eyes widened. He now knew that the lightning cauldron was an absolute saint weapon. In the past, when it was in Lu Ming's hands, the power it could unleash was simply a drop in the ocean. With Lu Ming's cultivation base, he could not unleash much of the lightning cauldron's power. But now that the lightning cauldron was in Emperor Tsang's hands, it was completely different. Its power was completely unleashed and it was extremely shocking. The huge thunder cauldron pressed down on Shakyamuni annihilating soul, and countless thunderbolts as thick as mountains kept bombarding him. Die! Shakyamuni annihilating soul roared. The black light on his body twisted and even emitted a sizzling sound. The cultivation technique he cultivated was countered by lightning. However, with his cultivation level, if he was at his peak, he wouldn't even care about the lightning cauldron. But now, he was extremely weak. The threat of the lightning cauldron was even greater. Furthermore, it was under the control of Emperor Tsang. Boom! Boom! The lightning cauldron slowly pressed down, completely drowning Shakyamuni annihilating soul. Emperor Tsang, you can't kill me. You can't kill me with just an absolute saint weapon. Shakyamuni annihilating soul roared. I just need to suppress you temporarily. Emperor Tsang's voice rang out. Then, a voice rang in Lu Ming's ears, little brat, I can't return this lightning cauldron to you for now. However, as compensation, I'll give you my storage ring. Whoosh! There was a flash of light and it shattered the void, appearing in front of Lu Ming in an instant. It was a storage ring, Emperor Tsang's storage ring. Lu Ming's heart started to beat rapidly. He grabbed the storage ring. Little brat, I'm going to take Shakyamuni annihilating soul and leave this place. I'll use the power of the void to suppress him. You guys should leave quickly. Emperor Tsang's voice rang out again. Then, Lu Ming felt a strong force pulling him and he disappeared from the starry sky. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared in the void. I'm out. Lu Ming looked at the huge goshawk in front of him. It was Emperor Tsang's bedroom. He had exited from it. At this moment, the air around Lu Ming rippled and figures appeared in the sky. Those who entered Emperor Tsang's bedchamber were all teleported out. This included Shi Tian, Wang Xiao, and the others. Damn it, what's going on? Wang Xiao roared. They were blocked by the turtle shell shield condensed by Dandan and were about to break it, but at this time, they were inexplicably teleported out. It was the same for the others. Some of them were extremely angry and unwilling to be teleported out just as they were about to get a treasure. Gah! At that moment, a long cry came from Emperor Tsang's bedchamber. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, it flapped its wings and flew into the depths of the sky. Boom! 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 In the depths of the sky, space cracked open as Emperor Tsang's bedroom flew into it, vanishing from sight. This is... What's going on? Why did Emperor Tsang's chamber suddenly fly away? No, it's my treasure. The scene was in a mess. Some people were roaring, while others were shocked. Lu Ming, is it because of you? All of a sudden, a voice rang out and reverberated throughout the entire place. Many people quieted down and could not help but look at Lu Ming. Wang Xiao. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he looked at Wang Xiao. The person who had shouted just now was none other than Wang Xiao. Lu Ming, previously, you used despicable means to stop us. You were the only one who entered the core of Emperor Tsang's bedroom. Not long after you entered, we were teleported out and Emperor Tsang's bedroom flew away on its own. It must be because of you. Wang Xiao said coldly. What? Lu Ming was the only one who entered the core of Emperor Tsang's chamber. He actually entered the core of Emperor Tsang's chamber. Many people looked at Lu Ming with surprise and thought. That's right. Lu Ming, did you obtain Emperor Tsang's inheritance? Is that why Emperor Tsang's bedroom flew away? Shi Tian stepped out, his body was filled with divine light, and he said coldly. His words made most of the people's eyes glow with a burning light. They fixed their gazes on Lu Ming. The inheritance of a great emperor. When they thought of these words, everyone's heart burned with passion. I didn't obtain Emperor Tsang's inheritance. Lu Ming explained. Ha, who would believe that? Lu Ming, you must have obtained Emperor Tsang's inheritance. Now, hand over the inheritance. It's impossible for you to keep it for yourself. Wang Shao said. That's right, the inheritance of the great emperor is not something you can swallow alone. Shi Tian followed. That's right. Hand over the inheritance. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. It's best to search his storage ring and his soul. Everything will be clear now, in case he hides anything. Right. The others followed suit and shouted. They stared at Lu Ming coldly and slowly formed a circle, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. What are you guys doing? Do you think that Dragon God Valley is weak? My fellow brothers, help Lu Ming. In the crowd, Qiu Yingying cried out. That's right. Senior brothers, let's help Lu Ming break out of this encirclement. Wan Tian chimed in. Hee hee, what a joke. This is a personal grudge between Lu Ming and the other sections. Disciples of the Dragon God Valley, listen up. No one is allowed to help Lu Ming. Otherwise, if he offends the other sects because of his personal grudge and causes the Dragon God Valley to be on bad terms with the other sects, you will bear the responsibility. Yin Feng shouted, his voice spreading far and wide. When he found out that Lu Ming had actually entered the Emperor Tsang Corps, he was extremely jealous and wished that Lu Ming would die. That's right. Disciples of Dragon God Valley, don't move. As he spoke, his body moved and his powerful aura locked onto Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, Wan Tian and the others. You guys. You're all despicable. The elders have already said that we should work together. Qiu Yingying called out. Shut up, die. He shouted coldly. His powerful aura pressed down on Qiu Yingying's body, causing her to have difficulty breathing. Chapter 1444 Killing everyone. Yingying, you don't have to say anything. These clowns can't do anything to me. Lu Ming said, his voice was heard. Presumptuous. Kid, hand over the inheritance of Emperor Tsang. Otherwise, I will make sure you die without an intact corpse. Hurry up. All around, the young men were staring at Lu Ming with greedy eyes. I've already said that I didn't receive Emperor Tsang's inheritance. Also, let me remind you that if you want to make a move, then you must be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming said, a cold murderous intent flashing in his eyes. What a joke. There are so many of us here. Let's see who you can kill. Wang Shao laughed coldly as he stepped forward. Above his head, a battle sword hovered, emitting a terrifying aura. It was a saint weapon. On the other side, Shi Tian stepped out with a saint weapon above his head. Then, demonic Jia did the same, appearing in another direction. Other than the three of them, there were three other leaders. They took out their holy weapons and surrounded Lu Ming. 3 breaths. Lu Ming, I'll give you 3 breaths. If you don't hand over the Thearch's legacy, you'll be stuck here forever. Wang Shao said coldly. 1. Then, Shi Tian started counting. At the side, the other young men looked at Lu Ming coldly. They were filled with killing intent and were ready to attack at any time. 2. Then, Shi Tian spoke again. Buzz. At that moment, black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. With a flap, Lu Ming soared into the sky. He's trying to escape. Don't even think about it. Wang Shao, Shi Tian, and the other 6 leaders reacted the fastest. They all chased after Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's body, which was in mid-air, suddenly stopped. Then, he changed his direction, past Shi Tian and the other 6, and rushed down. Who said I wanted to escape? Since you want to kill me, then, kill me. Lu Ming shouted and rushed into the crowd below. The black wings were like two heavenly blades. With a single slash, more than 10 young men were cut in half. He killed more than a dozen people in one move. Attack! Attack together and kill him! Someone shouted. Instantly, countless attacks were aimed at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's chaos domain spread and the black wings covered the chaos domain. Its power was even more terrifying. With a sweep, some of the attacks were shattered. Buzz! Lu Ming charged into the crowd as if he was in a deserted place. He swept his black wings and another dozen people were killed. Whoosh! 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 Then, the black feathers on the black wings flew out like divine swords and stabbed in all directions. Pft! One by one, the young men's foreheads or dantian were pierced through. No, shrill screams filled the air. In an instant, more than 100 people died at Lu Ming's hands. The smell of blood filled the air. Lu Ming, you're an evil demon. You're killing innocent people. I'll get rid of you today. Shi Tian roared. His eyes were red. Almost half of the people that Lu Ming had killed were disciples of the Tianxin sect. Evil spirit. It's ridiculous that you're killing innocents. You're the ones who started it first. I've told you that if you want to kill me, you should be prepared to be killed. Do you naively think that I can't resist if you want to kill me? Lu Ming's cold voice was heard. He flapped his black wings and dodged Shi Tian and the other leaders, killing the others. The rest of the young men, even those with innate spirit bodies, were no match for Lu Ming. One by one, they screamed in pain as they were killed by Lu Ming. Their attacks could not cause any damage to Lu Ming. The ground was covered with corpses. Soon, hundreds of people had died at Lu Ming's hands. Outside the crowd, Yin Feng and the others gasped. This guy is getting more and more terrifying. I must find a chance to kill him. Yin Feng thought to himself. Retreat! All of you, retreat! Shi Tian roared. The young men fled in all directions, trying to get as far away from Lu Ming as possible. Shi Tian and the other 5 were pursuing Lu Ming with all their might. Buzz! Lu Ming's figure suddenly stopped. Shi Tian's group of 6 surrounded Lu Ming again. This time, they focused their attention and locked their auras on Lu Ming, afraid that he would escape. Lu Ming, a demon like you must not be allowed to live in this world. Shi Tian roared. Hurry up and hand over Emperor Tsang's inheritance, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Wang Xiao said coldly. He, do you really think that I'm afraid of you? The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and walked towards Wang Xiao. Let's attack together. Wang Xiao's eyes flashed with a hint of fear. He did not dare to face Lu Ming alone. Attack! Boom! 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 Shi Tian and the others activated their holy weapons one after another. The power of their holy weapons burst out, and they were about to attack Lu Ming. Chirping. At this moment, bubbles started chirping on Lu Ming's shoulder. Suddenly, 6 transparent bubbles emerged and enveloped Shi Tian and the other 6. Kill! Lu Ming roared as he charged towards Wang Xiao. Space-time domain. Wang Xiao roared, his heart trembling as he pushed his saint weapon to its limits. Whoosh! A shocking sword chi was slashed out. The transparent bubble trembled and was cut open by the sword chi. The power of a holy weapon was unparalleled. The bubble wouldn't be able to hold all 6 of them for long. The others also used their saint weapons to break the bubble. However, this short moment was enough for Lu Ming. 9 seals of the gate of God, seal, seal. Lu Ming shouted. 5 gates of sealing suddenly appeared around Wang Xiao, emitting a brilliant light and sealing him. As Lu Ming broke through to the martial royal realm, he had also achieved a breakthrough in the 9 seals of the Gate of God and cultivated 5 gates of sealing. The 9 seals of the Gate of God was a secret technique used by emperors, and it was extremely powerful. With 5 gates of sealing, Wang Shao was instantly sealed. Kill! Lu Ming appeared in front of Wang Shao, and threw a punch at him. Boom! The power of that punch caused Wang Shao's heart to tremble. Buzz! However, right at this moment, a suit of armor suddenly appeared on Wang Shao's body, enveloping him within. Thump! Lu Ming's punch landed on the armor, causing it to tremble. Wang Shao was sent flying dozens of miles away, slamming into a mountain and coughing up blood. Holy weapon armor! Lu Ming's heart stirred. This saint weapon was most likely the one Wang Shao had been wearing before he entered. Lu Ming sighed. These people were really rich. They even had holy weapons and armors. Buzz! Lu Ming's figure flickered as he charged towards Wang Shao. Catch up to him. Stop him. Shi Tian and the rest roared as they charged towards Lu Ming. However, their speed was still slower than Lu Ming's. As soon as they moved, Lu Ming appeared in front of Wang Shao. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're hiding in your turtle shell. Lu Ming said coldly and stepped on it. Boom! With a single stomp, Wang Shao's foot landed on the armor on his body, causing the rocks on the mountain to explode. Wang Shao's entire body was embedded within the rocks. Chapter 1445 Chapter 1445 Secret Land Collapses, Kill. At this moment, Shi Tian arrived. Get lost! Lu Ming grabbed one of Wang Shao's legs and swung him like a hammer at Shi Tian. Boom! Shi Tian was sent flying by Wang Shao. Ah, Lu Ming, I'm going to kill you. Wang Shao howled as blood spurted out of his mouth. Although he had a holy weapon and armor to protect him, the power would still seep into his body from the constant attacks, heavily injuring him. Nonsense! Lu Ming grabbed one of Wang Shao's legs and lifted him up again, slamming him heavily into the mountain. Thump! The mountain peak trembled, and rocks flew everywhere as a large crater was smashed into it. Wang Shao howled in pain as he coughed up another mouthful of blood. Just now, Wang Shao and Shi Tian were the ones who were the most arrogant. Lu Ming decided to just focus on one of them and torture him until he was scared. Boom! 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 Then, Lu Ming picked up Wang Shao and smashed him down on the mountain peak. The mountain peak shook, and gravel flew everywhere. A large piece of the huge mountain peak was shattered. When Shi Tian, Ma Jie, and the rest were about to attack, Lu Ming lifted Wang Shao and attacked them. Currently, Wang Shao was covered by the armor, and was like a sledgehammer. It was easy to use him. In the distance, the others were dumbfounded. Wang Shao was the leader of the Jiuxiao Sword Sect's expedition into the Great Emperor's secret realm. But now, he was in such a miserable state. He could not resist Lu Ming's attack and was completely suppressed by him. He was being smashed by Lu Ming like a hammer. Wang Shao himself even felt like dying. He had lost all his face. Boom! 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 Right at this moment, the heavens and earth began to shake violently. Furthermore, the shaking was getting more and more intense, as if the entire world was shaking. Boom! Boom! Then, the ground cracked open, and lava that was thousands of feet high rushed out. Not good, this secret realm is going to collapse. One figure after another rushed into the sky, and someone shouted. Maybe it's because Emperor Tsang's chamber flew away. What do we do? If the secret realm collapses, we'll all die here. The scene was noisy, and someone shouted in fear. Let's fly up. When we first entered this secret realm, it looked like a bubble. There must be an end to it in the sky. Let's fly up and get out of here. Yes, up. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. Beams of light flew into the depths of the sky. Kacha. In the sky, the space suddenly cracked open, revealing a pitch-black spatial crack. A few young men screamed as they were swallowed by the space. If it was in the continent group of the divine ruins, martial emperors would be fine if they entered the dark void. However, it was different here. The space was stable, but correspondingly, the power of spatial cracks was even more shocking. If a martial emperor entered, he would definitely die. The space is about to crack. Be careful of spatial cracks. Someone shouted. One figure after another flew up at an extremely fast speed. Shi Tian, Ma Jie, and the rest had ugly expressions. They could not be bothered with Lu Ming and flew up into the sky to escape. Get lost. Lu Ming threw Wang Xiao into a crack in the ground and into the lava. Then, he flapped his black wings and soared into the sky. In a few breaths, Lu Ming appeared beside Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and Ruan Tian. I'll take you guys and charge together. Lu Ming said. His chaos domain enveloped Qiu Yingying and the rest. He then flapped his black wings and shot into the sky like a bolt of lightning. Boom! 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 The world was shaking more and more violently. Below, the earth cracked open and lava wreaked havoc. It was a scene of doomsday. In the sky, streaks of rainbow light flew into the sky. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, they finally saw a light screen. We're here. Someone rushed into the light curtain, and the light curtain trembled and disappeared. It's really possible. Everyone was overjoyed and rushed into the light screen. Lu Ming saw that Ma Jie, Hiyu, Shi Tian, and the others had all rushed into the light screen. After that, the others did the same. Yingying, you guys go out first. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Qiu Yingying asked. Kill a person. Lu Ming said coldly. He then waved his hand and sent Qiu Yingying and the rest into the light screen, disappearing. Then, Lu Ming looked down diagonally. There, a sword light was flying up at an extreme speed. It was Wang Xiao. He had been beaten half to death by Lu Ming and thrown into the lava. If not for his holy weapon armor, he would have been burned to death. He finally managed to rush out and escape to the sky. However, this way, he was at the back. With a flap of his black wings, coupled with the wind elemental technique, Lu Ming's figure turned into a black light and he flew down. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Wang Xiao flew with all his might. The secret realm was crumbling more and more, and if he was one step slower, he would not be able to break out. At the same time, he kept roaring in his heart. In his mind, he was planning how to take revenge on Lu Ming crazily after he got out. Suddenly, he saw a black light flash and pounce towards him at extreme speed. Lu Ming, what do you want to do? Wang Xiao roared. I'm here to kill you. Lu Ming laughed coldly as he looked down from above. He continued to use the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, and the power of his 9 steps merged into one, forming a huge footprint that stomped down on Wang Xiao. Wang Xiao bellowed in rage as he slashed out with his sword. The sword light landed on Lu Ming's footprint, breaking it apart. However, Wang Xiao's body was still sent flying. Buzz! Lu Ming once again chased after Wang Xiao. Lu Ming, you're crazy. Do you want to die? Wang Xiao howled in fear. He had a holy weapon and armor that could block Lu Ming's attack. However, if he could not get out of the secret realm before it collapsed, even the holy weapon and armor would not be able to save his life. Kill! Lu Ming swooped down, his black wings slashing out like blades. A holy weapon armor appeared on Wang Xiao's body, and with a sword in his hand, he slashed at Lu Ming. Clang! The combat sword struck the black wings, causing sparks to fly and the force to be unrestrained. Lu Ming's body was slightly blocked, but Wang Xiao's body was like a cannonball, falling down. Boom! 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 At this moment, the earth and sky were shaking even more violently. More and more spatial cracks appeared in the sky. The ground below was completely covered by lava. This secret realm could collapse completely at any moment. However, Lu Ming had no intention of stopping. He continued to charge at Wang Xiao. "Madman, you're a madman. Stop, stop!" Wang Xiao howled. At this moment, he was really afraid. Lu Ming was a lunatic. In order to kill him, he would even throw away his own life. If this continued, he and Lu Ming would both die here. It was good that Lu Ming was dead, but he did not want to die. Now, he regretted it. He regretted provoking Lu Ming, this perverted lunatic. Humans have to pay the price for their actions. Lu Ming said coldly. He flapped his black wings and continued to slash at Wang Xiao. Chapter 1446, 1446. Forcing Lu Ming. Wang Xiao went berserk, wanting to fly up into the sky, but Lu Ming's black wings cut him off completely. He could only try his best to block it, and his entire body fell again. Thump! Boom! Lu Ming swooped down, launching attacks at Wang Xiao. The two of them were getting further and further away from the sky, and closer to the ground. Boom! Kacha! The ground exploded, and lava filled the sky. A scorching aura kept surging. In the sky, more and more spatial cracks appeared, covering the sky like a spider web. Bang! Some of the spaces actually shattered like glass. The sky had collapsed. This secret realm was about to be destroyed. At this moment, the others had long since rushed out of the secret realm, leaving only Wang Xiao and Lu Ming. Ah! Wang Xiao roared, his voice filled with despair. Now, even if he wanted to rush out, it would be very difficult. Lu Ming, since you're going to die, let's die together. Wang Xiao roared madly as he charged towards Lu Ming. Clang! His divine weapon sword slashed at Lu Ming's black wings. His body trembled and he was sent flying backward by the power of the chaos domain. Who wants to die with you? Let's go, Lu Ming said indifferently. He spread his black wings and soared into the sky, flying thousands of miles in an instant. However, in front of him were dense spatial cracks, and there was no way out. Chirping. At this moment, Pow Pow cried out and a milky white glow emanated from its body. It waved its claws and a passageway appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a space-time passageway. Lu Ming took a step in and disappeared. No, no, bring me. Upon seeing this, Wang Xiao's mind completely collapsed as he madly flew towards the space-time tunnel. However, in the next instant, the space-time tunnel disappeared, leaving only Wang Xiao's indignant roar. Lu Ming appeared in the sky thousands of miles above. But then, the bubbles repeated the same trick and opened a space-time tunnel. In the Yuan continent, with Bubbles' cultivation, she could not open the space-time tunnel for too long. It was only a few thousand miles at a time, but it was enough. After a few times, Lu Ming saw the light screen again and rushed in. Outside the tomb, at the place where Lu Ming and the rest had entered, there was a saint from each of the 13 sects and forces. They were waiting quietly with some deacons. The huge tomb was also quietly floating in the air. Suddenly, behind the tomb, there was a violent rumble in the void. Gah! Then, they heard the long cry of an eagle. The space started to shake and some places even cracked. What's that? A goshawk! Someone shouted. They saw a huge goshawk soaring into the sky, breaking through the void. That's not a real goshawk. It's a fortress. Could it be Emperor Tsang's bedroom? Emperor Tsang's chamber? No way. Could it be that Emperor Tsang is not dead? A series of voices sounded. The 13 sages were in disbelief. If Emperor Tsang had not died and returned, the skies of the Azure continent would have changed. However, the huge goshawk did not break out of the void. Instead, it shattered the void and disappeared in the depths of the void. What happened in the Emperor Tsang's secret realm? They were filled with doubt, but they could only wait quietly. Kacha. Not long after, the gravestone of the tomb suddenly opened, and figures rushed out from it. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the light screen, his surroundings changed. Lu Ming realized that there was a platform in front of him. Many people were standing there and looking in his direction. Lu Ming. Brother Lu. On the platform, Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, Wan Tian, and the rest were craning their necks to look over. When they saw Lu Ming, they were overjoyed. It was obvious that they were worried and had been waiting here. Lu Ming flew over and nodded to everyone. Boom! Boom! A series of rumbling sounds came from that secret realm. Looking at the secret realm from here, one could see a huge ball with mountains and lakes inside. However, at this time, the mountains and lakes had already exploded, and the whole ball was covered with cracks. In the end, the entire round ball exploded, and the entire area was in chaos. One of the secret realms exploded and returned to chaos, disappearing into the endless void. If Wang Shao hadn't rushed out, he definitely wouldn't be alive. Let's go. Lu Ming said. They randomly chose a passage and went back the way they came. Not long after, they returned to the interior of the tomb and found that the door of the tomb had already been opened. They rushed out one after another. As soon as he rushed out of the light barrier, he discovered that there were many people moving in the air. As long as they weren't dead, most of them had already come out. The people at the scene took the initiative to divide themselves into 13 areas. Lu Ming and the others flew towards the Dragon God Valley area. What happened in the Emperor Tsang's secret realm? Why did it collapse? An old voice was heard, and a saint couldn't help but ask. Many people looked at each other. They did not know why the Emperor Tsang mystic realm collapsed. One of us must know that Lu Ming from Dragon God Valley had entered the core of Emperor Tsang's chamber. Then, the changes that happened later on occurred. I speculate that he must have obtained Emperor Tsang's inheritance. In the area of the Heavenly Gods sect, Shi Tian was the first to speak. What? Emperor Tsang's inheritance? Many people heard this and looked in the direction of Dragon God Valley with burning eyes, including some of the saints. The inheritance of a great emperor, how tempting was that? Who is Lu Ming? An expert stepped out from the Tianqin sect. A terrifying aura emanated from his body. This person was the sage expert of the Tianqin sect. It's him. Shi Tian pointed at Lu Ming. This time, everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Is this true? Said a saint from another sect. I can testify that everything Shi Tian said is true. Mo Jia of the Tian Yu demonic sect stepped forward and looked at Lu Ming with cold eyes. I can also testify. I personally saw him enter the core of Emperor Tsang's bedroom. Another leading genius of the sect walked out. In that case, hand over the inheritance of the great emperor. The eyes of the sage realm expert of the Tianqin sect flickered as he stared at Lu Ming. He took a step forward and was about to approach Lu Ming. Boom! On the side of Dragon God Valley, Elder Hong took a step forward and stood in front of Lu Ming. Like a tall mountain, he blocked the aura of the sage of the Tianqin sect. What's wrong? If you want to protect him, how can Dragon God Valley monopolize the inheritance of the great emperor? The sage realm expert of the Heavenly God sect spoke. The other sects also sent their saint realm experts over. I didn't obtain Emperor Tsang's inheritance. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his mouth and his voice spread throughout the entire venue. You didn't get it? The eyes of all the saint realm experts narrowed. Nonsense. Many of us saw you enter the core of Emperor Tsang's palace. You still want to deny it? Shi Tian shouted. I can also vouch for this. Junior brother Lu Ming has indeed entered the core of Emperor Tsang's bedroom. A cold voice came from the Dragon God Valley. It was he Yu. Chapter 1447, 1447. The despicable Yin Feng. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he looked at He Yu. This person was really despicable. They were from the same sect, but he kept trying to kill Lu Ming by selling him out. Beside He Yu, Yin Feng sneered. He, even the Dragon God Valley disciple has spoken. It seems to be true. The sage realm expert of the heavenly god sect sneered, and his aura became stronger. I've already said that I didn't obtain Emperor Tsang's inheritance. Lu Ming spoke again, his gaze sweeping across Shi Tian, Mo Jia, He Yu, and the others. Speaking of which, Lu Ming was the one who saved them this time. If not for Lu Ming, these people would have been killed by Shakyamuni annihilating soul after entering the core of Emperor Tsang's bedchamber. His flesh and blood would have been refined and everyone would have died. But now, these people wanted to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming would remember these people one by one. There would be a time to settle this score in the future. Words are not proof, we want to test it. The sage realm expert of the heavenly god sect coldly spoke. If you want to test it, then test it. The Tianjin sect is so overbearing. Do you think my Dragon God Valley sect will be afraid? Elder Hong was very powerful. His aura was violent, like a true dragon. The confrontation between the two saint stage powerhouses made many young men's faces turn pale. It was as if a mountain was pressing on their hearts, and they felt so uncomfortable that they wanted to vomit blood. Lu Ming was better off. He had seen the terrifying auras of the two great emperors. Although the auras of the sages were strong, they could not move his heart. Lu Ming, did you really enter Emperor Tsang's bedchamber? Elder Hong asked Lu Ming. Everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming, waiting to see how he would answer. That's right, I entered the core of Emperor Tsang's bedroom. Lu Ming nodded. It seems that others didn't slander you. You've admitted it yourself. The sage expert of the heavenly god sect said. Entering the core of Emperor Tsang's bedchamber might not necessarily mean that you have obtained the legacy. Lu Ming, what did you see in the core of Emperor Tsang's bedchamber? What did you do? Elder Hong asked again. I saw Emperor Tsang. Lu Ming said. His words were like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's mind. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming had met Emperor Tsang. Could it be that Emperor Tsang was not dead? Is Emperor Tsang still alive? The sage of the Tianjin sect asked, his voice a little hoarse. Yes, Emperor Tsang is still alive. Lu Ming nodded. Hiss hiss hiss. Gasps of shock could be heard. He didn't expect that Emperor Tsang was still alive. The world of the Azure continent was going to undergo a huge change. If Emperor Tsang is alive, why hasn't there been any trace of him for 60,000 years? Someone asked. That's right. Lu Ming, speak clearly. What did you see? What did you get? Someone asked. The reason why Emperor Tsang has disappeared for 60,000 years is because he was severely injured. Furthermore, he has been confronting a great enemy for 60,000 years. At that moment, Lu Ming did not hide anything and told him what he saw in full detail. However, he had made a slight change. In fact, Shakyamuni annihilating soul had the upper hand. However, Lu Ming said that Emperor Tsang and Shakyamuni annihilating soul were equal. After confronting each other for 60,000 years, Emperor Tsang finally gained the upper hand with the help of his thunder cauldron. He wanted to suppress Shakyamuni annihilating soul. Shakyamuni soul. It's actually Shakyamuni soul. Shakyamuni annihilating soul is still alive. The Saint Realm powerhouses present seemed to have heard of Shakyamuni annihilating soul before. While they were shocked, their expressions were extremely grave. I see. Many people who had never heard of Shakyamuni annihilating soul were shocked. They finally knew why Emperor Tsung suddenly disappeared 60,000 years ago. It was because he had encountered a great enemy. Many of the young men who had entered the secret realm were even more moved. They recalled the many skeletons they had seen in the great Emperor's secret realm. Clearly, they were all killed by Emperor Tsung's enemies. Emperor Tsung borrowed my holy weapon, the Thunder Cauldron, and brought Shakyamuni annihilating soul into the infinite void. He said that he would return the Thunder Cauldron to thank me for my help after he had completely suppressed Shakyamuni annihilating soul. In the end, Lu Ming said this. The meaning of his words was very simple. Emperor Tsung was still alive and he did not receive Emperor Tsung's inheritance. Furthermore, he was Emperor Tsung's benefactor. After Emperor Tsung suppressed the enemy, he would return to find him. He was using Emperor Tsung's name to intimidate the experts from the other sections. If they touched Lu Ming now, they would have to face Emperor Tsung when he returned. Hee, little fellow, there's no need to use Emperor Tsung to threaten us. The sage realm expert of the Tianqian sect sneered. They naturally did not believe Lu Ming's words. However, there was one thing that they could be sure of. Emperor Tsung was still alive. Previously, they had seen Emperor Tsung's chamber breaking through the void. With their cultivation of the Saint Realm, they could indeed sense a faint trace of the great Emperor's aura. Now, after hearing Lu Ming's explanation, they were convinced that Emperor Tsung was in the chamber. Since Emperor Tsung was not dead, it was impossible for Lu Ming to obtain Emperor Tsung's legacy. How could a living great emperor pass down his legacy? If they wanted someone else to inherit his legacy, they could just take him in as a disciple. Since Lu Ming did not receive the legacy of Emperor Tsung, there was no point in taking him down. On the contrary, it was not worth it to offend Dragon God Valley. The few sages looked at each other and shook their heads. Let's go. Since Emperor Tsung is not dead, we should make plans. Go back and report to the sect master. Some of the saints spoke one after another before leaving with the young men from their sections. Humph. The sage of the Tianqian sect snorted coldly. His eyes flickered a few times, but he did not continue to pursue Lu Ming. He turned around and left. Senior brother Hiyu, I heard that Lu Ming killed Wu Sandu of the Yu-Du sect in the Emperor's chamber. It seems that another peerless genius is going to appear in Dragon God Valley. At this moment, a voice was heard from the Dragon God Valley. The voice was very loud and spread far. Yin Feng. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Yin Feng was deliberately trying to harm him. Wu Sandu was the green-robed young man who was killed by Lu Ming in Emperor Tsung's bedroom. As expected, the Saint Stage powerhouse from the Desire Poison sect stopped in his tracks and turned around to look at Lu Ming. His body was filled with cold killing intent. Kid, so it turns out that Wu Sandu died by your hands. The saint from the Yu-Du sect said coldly. A layer of poisonous mist emanated from his body, and his powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Hee. Hiyu and Yin Feng sneered in the crowd of Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming had managed to escape from the disaster under such circumstances just now. They could not accept that. Hence, they deliberately announced loudly that Lu Ming had killed Wu Sandu. So what if I killed him? In the great emperor's secret realm, we were competing with each other. He wanted to kill me first, so how could I not kill him? Lu Ming said loudly. Then I'll kill you and take revenge for him. The Desire Poison sect's elders shouted loudly and stepped out. Poisonous gas filled the air. Wu Sandu was the leader of the Desire Poison sect who had entered the great emperor's secret realm this time. He was very talented and would definitely be a top-notch genius in the Desire Poison sect when he grew up in the future. However, he had been killed by Lu Ming. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.